watching TBPN! Today is Friday, September 19th, 2025. We are live from the TBPN Ultradome, the Temple of Technology, the Fortress of Finance, the capital of capital. Thank you to everyone in the chat. It is teeming today.
Love to see it.
The first message I saw was thank you to Ramp for another TBPN Friday. Thank you to Ramp, ramp.com. Time is money. Save both. Easy to use corporate cards, bill pay, accounting, and a whole lot more all in one place.
We have new sound effects from the team, by the way.
Oh, we do?
Hit him.
There we go. I'm hearing multiple things. This is getting crazy.
And we have a special guest today. Let's go to the wide.
Yes, we have
our
Turbo Puffer.
Turbo Puffer here. Look at this.
It doesn't show how 3D it is.
I mean, it is absolutely stunning.
The Turbo Puffer clock.
And it's functional too.
Of course, search every byte. turbo puffer. We're puffing.
We're
Serverless
puffing.
vector and
We
full text search.
puffing. I'm gonna
built
hit gong
from first
before-
principles on object storage, 10x cheaper, extremely scalable. Go to the gong cam. Thank you, Turbo Puffer,
because
from
we puffin'.
supporting us. Excited to dig deeper into that company. There's some fun stuff to share at some point. Anyway, the big news: Colossus 2 XAI. It seems like it's going well. People have been saying Elon spread too thin. Starships, crashing into the firmament every 2 seconds. Starships landed, came back. The haters are. I mean, he pulled back from politics. It seems like there's a lot of progress.
The huge L for the firmament believers.
Yes.
After the last launch.
Yes, Elon made it to space and back, and he's also
as of
making progress on Colossus 2, the data center.
20 minutes ago, CNBC is reporting that XAI raised a fresh $10 billion at $200 billion.
Wow.
That just hit the timeline.
There we go. Dylan Patel summed it up.
Headline? Did you put a headline in the
newsletter?
In the newsletter today?
Yes, XAI. If you build it, they will come.
Oh, okay.
Because his plan is to build the biggest data center, the first gigawatt data center in the world. And SemiAnalysis says they have a unique RL methodology. It's focused less on these RL environments for specific business use cases. We're not hearing about them cloning DoorDash or Amazon or creating a unique browser use, like go solve a very specific. They're not trying to build deep research RL environments. They're building the romantic companion, which is an RL environment that feeds off of human interaction. And so SemiAnalysis is a very interesting take.
Harvest it.
Potentially. But Dylan says, every time you think Elon has lost his touch or is failing, he does some crazy stuff, and you're like, damn, he really still got it. How Elon is building the largest data center in the world faster than anyone else is amazing. Also, what they're doing on the RL side is equally nuts. There's a bunch of posts here and bunch of interesting
Do
hacks.
not go data center for data center with the goat.
Yes. So I mean, he got into this game late. He co-founded. It's going to be the 10-year anniversary of co-founding OpenAI. December 2015 is when he co-founded OpenAI, and we're coming up on December of 2025, and he's about to have a data center that's on par. It's close to OpenAI. It's not yet bigger, but they're getting there. This is SemiAnalysis breaks down the megawatts of IT capacity, which is effectively the total AI training data center capacity. OpenAI is still ahead of XAI, but Elon's pulling out every possible trick play to catch up to the firm he co-founded. They're now ahead of Anthropic and Meta Superintelligence, according to SemiAnalysis's data. You can go deeper and obviously subscribe, and if you upgrade to the most high tier, you get their data center model, and they'll even tell you what Google's doing, which is much more complex because Google trains across multiple data centers. So everyone loved Colossus 1, built from the ground up in 122 days. It had 300 megawatts of IT power, which is now small potatoes because the next one's 3 times bigger. Zuck has talked about Hyperion and Prometheus shortly after going on his MSL hiring spree. OpenAI is, of course, working on Stargate in partnership with Crusoe and Oracle and others.
Also, in Alex Heath
Yes.
interview the other day was saying that, I think it released yesterday, that he believes we might be in an AI bubble.
Zuck didn't say that. That was an interpretation of the Zuck clip.
Interesting.
So I saw that post. We should pull up the actual clip.
Let's watch it.
And review what Zuck said, because I believe that this was somebody adding a caption and interpreting the vibes that were coming off of that particular interaction between Alex Heath, who just launched a new Substack and podcast. Let's listen to this interview with Mark Zuckerberg.
Out of the way. That's kind of my job for them. Yeah, you were talking about the CapEx and the data centers. You obviously see something on the other side of that will warrant that being worth it. But I'm wondering, do you ascribe to these bubble fears at all that people are talking about, that we're in this massive overspending, getting ahead of the skis bubble? And maybe a company like Meta will be okay because you guys do have a core business that makes a lot of money. But yeah, how do you think about this bubble talk that has been going on for the last few months, especially?
I mean, I think it's quite possible. I mean, I think basically if you look at most other major infrastructure build-ups in history, whether it's railroads or fiber for the internet, in the .com bubble, these things were all chasing something that ended up being fundamentally very valuable. In most cases, it ended up being even more valuable than the people who were kind of pushing the bubble thought it was going to be. Right. But And in at least all of these past cases, the infrastructure gets built out, people take on too much debt, and then you hit some blip, whether it's some macroeconomic thing, or maybe you just have like a couple of years where the demand for the product doesn't quite materialize. And then a lot of the companies end up going out of business. And then the assets get distressed, and then it's a great opportunity to go buy more. So I think that it's obviously impossible to predict what will happen here. There are compelling arguments for why AI could be an outlier, and basically just if the models keep on growing in capability year over year and demand keeps growing, then maybe there is no collapse or something. But I do think that there's definitely a possibility, at least empirically, based on past large infrastructure buildouts and how they led to bubbles, that that something like that would happen here.
He's going back and forth there. Not as strong as what Sam Altman said.
Yeah, again,
right. It's possible we're in a bubble is not the same as we're definitely in a bubble.
Yeah, and the
but I think you're right.
The post, whoever
Summer was
flipped
correct.
that is right as well, and that it's much better to be in the position where you have a highly profitable advertising business that can support this.
Yep.
All of the AI capex could effectively never go to what we think of as like new Gen AI products, and it could just go to the core business.
Yeah.
And it'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, when we hear about Meta spending $60 billion on capex, like a lot of that is still core AI. A lot of that is still just recommend better ads, recommend better reels, that type of stuff. And so, just tons more downside protection in a company like Meta versus XAI, which is using leverage, using these deal shifting pawns across
having
the
SpaceX
chessboard.
invest,
SpaceX
Tesla
and then
invest, right?
SpaceX employees and Tesla employees are coming over, and Tesla Megapack battery packs are going over there. Like it is a crazy kiretsu that.
Well,
Elon
speaking
has
of
built.
Well-placed ads, Tyler Rongi just shared this moment earlier. We got to pull this up. Pull this video up in the timeline. Tyler clipped it for us. John delivered potentially the greatest host-read ad in history. We're a little bit biased, obviously.
Ramp.com, time is money, save both. You can use corporate cards, bill payments, accounting, and a whole lot more all in one
4
place.
seconds on the countdown.
Here we go. Let's bring him on. Mark Zuckerberg, live on TBPN. Welcome to the stream. How you doing, Mark? Good to see you. You're ready. Absolute party.
This is really just the pinnacle, like truly like the pinnacle of the bit that we started maybe a year ago, less than a year ago. I mean, I guess what we started doing ramp ads. I think we started doing ramp ads even before we had a deal with them. We just thought it was fun. But this whole idea of like, let's be overly commercial, let's really push the ad reads. It was started as a joke, and then it just became like our thing, and we normalized it to a point where we can actually go and do an ad read, a host read, right before interviewing a Mag 7 CEO. So it was a fantastic day, fantastic week. We had a lot of fun. Anyway, continuing with what's going on with XAI, there's this thought-provoking part of the latest semi-analysis article that kind of breaks down how Ani and the romantic companion chatbot actually flows. We can read through a little bit of this. I mean, Elon is extremely satisfied with how the build-out's going.
Yep.
Semi-analysis said XAI now has 460 megawatts of natural gas turbines installed and either operating or under construction. This includes 12 SMT 130 turbines at Colossus 1 and 7 Titan 350 turbines at Mississippi. Those are extremely cool names for turbines. Titan 350. And Elon says still small fry at 1 gigawatt for serious power in the 100 gigawatt continuous range, 1/5 of USA average power consumption. It probably needs to be solar battery powered at 1 terawatt. Solar battery is the only realistic option.
Elon companies are so good at infrastructure, they should have bought the Fire Festival IP because they actually, I believe
they could pull it off for sure.
They could have pulled it off on a barren island. They would have been able to do it.
Yeah.
Might not have been super well, easy on the eyes, but it would have the festival would have run.
Yeah, for sure. Restream, one live stream, 30 plus destinations. We're restreaming right now. Multi-stream and reach your audience wherever they are.
Every day.
Semi-analysis continues. The location of XAI's AI data center hub in Memphis is highly strategic as it sits at the intersection of 3 states. Tennessee residents are already frustrated with the environmental and noise concerns caused by the gas turbines powering the facility. To address this, Elon Musk simply placed the new turbines a few miles across the border in Mississippi, running a short transmission line back to the Tennessee hub. It is so crazy that he can even build a line a couple miles like that. Like, how long does it take California to build a couple miles of railroad? Like a decade? The idea that you can actually like build even a transmission line that quickly is remarkable.
I wonder if any crazy land deals got done like in that 2-mile stretch, right? Like, because if he had to, like, do you think he owned all the land across state lines, or was there some section where
it gets more complex. So and if Mississippi residents or regulators push back, well, no problem. He can just go a few miles west, build additional turbine plants in Arkansas, and connect them with another short transmission line. Elon Musk has also confirmed that XAI is purchasing an overseas power plant to bring to the U.S. to continue powering his physical AI infrastructure.
But he's buying a plant that's overseas and then moving it?
I think so. I think just like pick it up and put it down. But Semi-analysis called it another 200 IQ first principles move by Elon due to pushback on the Tennessee over environmental concerns. He built it at this intersection of 3 states and can move between them. There's some really remarkable things. This genius trick, such a crazy move, and you have to think that he didn't run into this like later. He thought about this. He thought that the state regulation it would be complex, and so picked that zone maybe a year ago. And has been a beneficiary of it ever since. Such a fascinating story, and you can see some images from 200 megawatts to 1.1 gigawatts, and you can see the physical change of the physical change of the site from March 2025 to August 2025. That's just a few months, and it looks like a completely different, like terraforming the Earth. It's absolutely wild.
Grok right now. Guess Grok's revenue on Sensor Tower, so the App Store, last month.
$100 million, something like that.
Last month?
I would hope that they're at $1 billion run rate, maybe less.
5
million?
So $60 million run rate in the App Store. Granted, they could have other people go to grok.com and sign up, and those signups wouldn't get counted towards this.
Yeah.
But this is counting.
And there's
Japan,
a lot of people that use
States.
Grok within X, so they have an X premium account, and that gets them access to Grok. But yeah, I mean, Semi-analysis shares a lot of data around the AI lab ARR, external revenue. OpenAI is at a $14.5 billion run rate. Anthropic's at a $7 billion run rate now, and Grok is not really showing up on this particular chart. There's some discussion in here about Elon going to the Middle East. There's the KSA's Kingdom Holding Company. They own 16.87% by PIF, Public Investment Fund. They owned and kept a $1.9 billion stake in Twitter when Musk took the company private in 2022, and also owned an $800 million stake in XAI prior to the merger. So they're building a position in XAI. The UAE's privately owned Vi Capital brought in $700 million in 2022 to support Elon's takeover of Twitter. It also invested in the XAI Series C alongside UAE state fund MGX, and Qatar's QIA also owned and kept a $375 million stake in Twitter and participated in XAI's Series C. And so, according to the Financial Times, XAI is preparing a new round in the tens of billions, valuing the company close to $200 billion with Saudi PIF.
The CNBC broke that has allegedly been closed.
Yeah, so Semi-analysis earlier this week was talking about a raise as large as $30 billion. It sounded like $10 billion came in today.
And remember, XAI's lawyer was on the record, I think a couple days ago, saying the idea that XAI is struggling with fundraising is entirely false.
Yes, it was like they're good at fundraising. Right.
They were performing well in fundraising, is what they said. But the reporter was pushing them and basically saying
Yeah, I mean, you can give these labs like a little bit of leeway because Anthropic wasn't making a ton of money, and then when they hit product market fit on the actual model, like it ramped very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Same thing with OpenAI, obviously.
The $200 billion semi-analysis says this is challenging because it is hard for most investors to justify XAI as having a valuation higher than Anthropic.
That is tricky, considering Anthropic's at like a $7 billion run rate and growing very, very quickly. Anyway, let me tell you about one of our newest sponsors, Privy, wallet infrastructure for every bank. Privy makes it easy to build on crypto rails, securely spin up white label wallets, sign transactions, and integrate on-chain infrastructure all through one simple API.
The official wallet infrastructure provider
of TBPN. Proud to work with them. Beyond external capital sources, Elon could generate capital internally since merging X with XAI to form X Holdings. Semi-Analysis believes there's an ever-growing piece of XAI's revenues are intercompany transfers. So when you call Grok, at Grok is this true on X to answer questions, X.com is licensing that LLM technology for functionality such as search, ad, and even the recommendation algorithm. Elon has said just today that he wants it to be entirely powered by XAI, by artificial intelligence. No, he wants to rip out the older system. Tyler.
And remember, in July, the Department of Defense awarded a $200 million contract to XAI.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So that's significant.
Yeah. Significant. I mean, you add that, you add the 60 million in Sensor Tower. There's probably a bunch more coming just directly. There's probably some coming over from.
But at the end of the
hearing
day,
like nine figures, but we're not seeing like the multi-billion-dollar revenues.
If you're a large-scale allocator and you are having the opportunity to simultaneously invest in Anthropic, OpenAI, and XAI, OpenAI at somewhere 350 to 500 billion. Anthropic 160 or 170, whatever it is, and then XAI 200 billion. It's like you really got to be riding with Elon.
I'm ready to ride, baby. Semi-Analysis says it's moving, describes it as moving money from Elon's right pocket to his left pocket. This has happened a bunch, though. It happened with Solar City. He acquired that company. And then we didn't really hear that much about solar from Tesla. There was this vision for a while that you would buy a solar roof and get solar panels installed in your house through Tesla. That project, it was slow, and then it didn't really reach breakout speed. But interesting to see how much, like at this point, it's been a decade since you want to hold on to your pufferfish. Are you very happy about that thing? It is so cool. At this point, if Elon was really like had changed his tune on solar, he very much could have pivoted and said, like, now we're doing nuclear and we're not doing solar anymore. And, we're kind of slowly, like, the actual Solar City acquisition was never that big. And it's been sort of like written down over the time. No one's saying, oh, Tesla needs to deliver Solar City, the original vision there for that to happen. But yet Elon's still beating the drum of solar will be really important long term. So I wonder if
a lot of people were not happy about the Solar City acquisition.
Yeah, but over time it didn't matter because the stock
didn't matter in the end.
And
that's why I've said I think if XAI eventually rolls into Tesla, I think that Tesla will like probably pop on that news, and over in the fullness of time, like it probably will not be. I think it'll be somewhat of a rounding error.
Yeah. It would be interesting if it comes back, and in another decade, Tesla or Elon Inc. is a major player in solar power generation. They certainly aren't a material amount of total power generation. They're getting into a material amount of total AI, IT capacity and data center capacity, kind of bootstrapping a hyperscaler, becoming a hyperscaler just through the XAI efforts. But it would be very interesting to see if we look back and we're like, oh, they actually did wind up installing a ton of solar. They needed an excuse to do it, not just ground up adoption from everyday people putting it on the roof, but could happen. Semi-Analysis asked the question, does XAI have a shot at becoming a frontier lab? XAI has been able to catch up in many aspects to the current frontier. Grok 4, by some measures and evaluations, was up there with some of the best models on release, yet Semi-Analysis believes they're struggling to translate eval's strength into revenue. Let's discuss the talent pool. There's a bunch of interesting things here. So XAI got folks from Google DeepMind, Greg Yang and Tony Wu. XAI also has renowned researchers like Jimmy Ba, co-inventor of the Atom Optimizer. Since then, XAI has poached more talent from DeepMind, Meta, and in some cases NVIDIA, which is interesting because they're buying a ton of chips from NVIDIA, but they did get some folks. They got Ethan He, who was a senior engineer at NVIDIA working on their NeMo model series. And my question is Ethan He him? Or is he just Ethan He? At this point, they have north of 1,000 employees and are continuously expanding with a new office slated to open in Seattle. They work really hard. It's famously hardcore. I like this phrase here. Part of this is the fast, extremely hardcore pace. XAI engineers, 996, look easy. Everything is saying to XAI engineers, 996 looks easy. Often pulling what they call
a 996
007. Which is 12 to 12, 7 days a week, which I think is just 24 hours a day.
Well, no, if you were doing 12 noon to 12, or
well, that's not that much more than 9 to 9, 12 to 12.
Yeah.
Like I think what they're saying here is that basically it's like you are 100% working, even when you're sleeping. Like that's part of your job. Like the sleeping in the tent is like you're doing that to enable your work. So you live at the office and you truly are working endlessly. But the talent exodus is a real issue with XAI. People are churning out, but they keep finding young people to join. And they're two of their best data center folks just left to join OpenAI, but Colossus 2 keeps chugging forward. So they're able to backfill, and they haven't been able to be fully destroyed. There's an interesting...
Yeah, I mean, there's a world where even if XAI ends up just leading on infrastructure and actually being able to deliver compute, there's a ton of value in that as well, right? We were talking offline the other day. Is there some world where Oracle says like, hey, we have this crazy backlog. Well, basically, like, if you give us access to Colossus, we'll pay you a premium for it. But who knows?
Yeah. I mean, there is a question of like, it's super risky. There's debt. They're building out this massive cluster, and there isn't that much demand from the actual API for Grok, and there's not this crazy compounding advantage in consumer. But at the end of the day, if you wind up with a 1 gigawatt cluster, there's a lot of hyperscalers that want a 1 gigawatt cluster, and so you could probably just go sell that to AWS or Google pretty quickly. So it doesn't seem that crazy as in terms of like where the dollars are going. It seems like an efficient build out that creates capacity. But then we're talking about like the dark fiber world where we couldn't find a use for this today, so we had to sell it kind of at cost or below cost. But it's not a zero. It's not completely spent on something that might not materialize at all. Anyway, let me tell you about Cognition, our latest sponsor. They're the makers of Devin. Devin is the AI software engineer. Crush your backlog with your personal AI engineering team. Speaking of coding is today the largest API use case for AI. Devin, of course,
I can't get over the team.
Uses AI to write
code. Cowbell. The
cowbell's great.
Hit that horn again, Nick.
I love the horn. It's great. Grok 4 is priced at the same level of Claude Sonnet 4, yet does not show the same level of coding abilities. For non-coding applications, GPT-5 is even cheaper and has better capabilities across the board. So both Anthropic Sonnet 3.7 and Sonnet 4 are both at $4 per million tokens. Grok 4 is also at $4 per million tokens, but very quickly, GPT-5 is at $2 per million tokens. Grok Code Fast is much cheaper, but and a lot of the explosion over Grok Code Fast has been on OpenRouter. SemiAnalysis dug into the OpenRouter stuff, and it said that there is interest in a small, cheap, and performant model, but there's a catch. SemiAnalysis thinks that the spike on OpenRouter comes from XAI providing free voucher credits to KiloCode users who call XAI models via OpenRouter. Real demand will be clearer in the long run as voucher redemptions run out. So they've been doing a lot to just spur adoption. Hopefully those folks stick around. There was one very interesting stat in here that they linked to. So a survey from Netscope found that Grok is used in 23% of organizations. This is up from like 0.01% of adoption of Grok 2 in enterprises that were surveyed. So massive, massive adoption of Grok in companies broadly. 23% is pretty high actually. But 29% of organizations have just blocked Grok entirely, likely due to the Mecca incident and some of that stuff. So it's unclear how Elon's influence over Grok will, persist in post-training quirks. If you just want a model to optimize a manual workflow, you might not want it to take a strong stance on some political issue. You might just want it to put the tokens in the bag. So, on the consumer side, ChatGPT is truly, truly crushing the 30-day app revenue index to ChatGPT at 100. Grok is at 2.6 relative to ChatGPT's 100, so 2.6% of ChatGPT revenue. And then Claude is at 1.3% and Gemini is at 0.5%. And so, according to SemiAnalysis and Sensor Tower.
It is pretty wild that the Mecca incident happened in the very beginning of July.
Yep.
And they were still able to announce the DoD contract for $200 million in mid-July.
Yeah, I mean,
But
those
it had
things
to
probably
have been signed.
happened in a long time.
Yeah.
It takes time. So everyone discusses AI's weakness from model and lack of business perspective, but it's important to recognize that they do have a unique method for RL, reinforcement learning. Semi-analysis is continuing. So Anthropic's focused on code, automated software engineering, digital productivity as a path to automate model research, infrastructure improvements. This is clearly the best path towards revenue in the short to medium term, but XAI believes this is not a valid approach to AGI. A more generalized approach is required, says SemiAnalysis. While XAI is chasing code performance, they are also chasing other areas, including emotional intelligence and empathy. Ani is key to this. This is interesting. XAI's Ani is set to be one of the most diverse RL environments. If the goal is to maximize engagement, then the model can attempt to maximize on that. While their idea of utilizing humans as an RL environment is a crazy thing, it will be commonplace as AI evolves. Once XAI implements RL on human environments, they could dramatically improve engagement and eventually turn to other goals as well. Becoming really good at slop is a potential path. I think we were talking about this earlier. It's just a fascinating concept of like where this goes. It's a potentially very dark, very Black Mirror, very black pilling, but could be very cool. Creating many RL environments makes spiky intelligence, but if humans are the ones to optimize against, perhaps it will be general. It's debatable whether this leads to intelligence gains anytime soon. But if the goal is to expand beyond engagement, it could lead to impressive advancements, or it could just lead to a dystopian future where people are addicted to some anime girl they talk to, says Dylan Patel over at SemiAnalysis. It's a wild.
So the next section, the future of XAI. In the next 2 to 3 years, XAI's compute footprint will be heavily weighted towards training. Their inference demand is rising and will benefit the neocloud market. But in the short term, it will pale in comparison to their multi-gigawatt training expansion. While that situation isn't viable from a financial perspective, we think XAI's integration into X will likely provide some cash cushion. X is already integrating XAI technologies into its core advertising engine to increase monetization per user. Again, XAI, Twitter has never been an incredible cash engine.
Yeah.
Throughout its history, but it's something. SemiAnalysis says, but to support its LLM training build-out, XAI will need to generate tens of billions of dollars of revenue and follow the path of Anthropic and OpenAI. The core question is whether XAI's success would take market share from them or create net new spending. We think it'll be a mix of both. XAI's ramp will enable Gen AI to reach a broader audience, but it also increases the financial weakness of the Gen AI market and the risk of market turndown as training still outspends inference. For a precise breakdown of training and inference capacity.
Go hit the data center industry model.
Do it.
Just upgrade, pull the trigger, pull out the ramp card, put it down for the SemiAnalysis giga tier. Pay for the most. And then hop over to Figma.com. Think bigger, build faster. Figma helps design and development teams build great products together. Get started for free.
Let's go.
And we have our first guest of the stream, our European correspondent.
Our UK correspondent.
I love this song.
We actually should license that.
We definitely are going to get demonetized for that.
Great to see you.
It's my favorite sound. I'm back in the studio.
Yes.
We've got the soundtrack going.
It's such a banger song. It really is. Give us the weather report first. How was summer? How was it Wimbledon? You went to some tennis event. What'd you do?
I had a tennis. Yeah, I had a good tennis summer. I was actually the U.S. Open as well.
U.S. Open, okay.
Recently.
Is that the same as Wimbledon? Are they the same thing?
I mean, they're technically the same on seniority, but
Okay.
I would say as a proud Brit that they are slightly different.
Okay, got it. And then take us through this week. Why are we paying attention to Europe?
So I think, the headline here, I know that Geordie sort of said UK correspondent, not European, is that we've had this huge state visit this week from, the White House delegation. We also had a huge tech delegation come over, which really sort of marks the first landmark second state visit that a US president has been given, which President Trump likes to remind us lots of times. So it's the first time that a US president hasn't been invited for a second ceremonial visit to visit the royal family. So you had the sort of pageantry of this big White House delegation to Windsor Castle. There was a big state banquet. You had, Jensen even taking off his black leather jacket and putting on his white tie, which is, one level up from black tie. We get very specific
horses.
Here.
I saw tons and tons of horses.
There were a lot of horses.
Yes.
There was a lot of gold. We love gold
That's
as
great.
well. So we really had one day, which was, a showcase of diplomacy and tradition. And then you had a second day, which was at Chequers, which is the UK Prime Minister's traditional sort of country home.
That's right.
Historical diplomacy is carried out there. And the focus on that was not just, UK trade and investment. If you cast your mind back to May, I think I was on the show, we had the UK and the US come up with one of the first trade agreements, which, given the sort of the landscape of tariffs, I think was a demonstration by the White House that they're really keen to make trade deals where they can. So you had a continuation of that, but the real focus this time was on tech and innovation across both energy and nuclear. You had it across AI and quantum, and then also, of course, defense and national security. So that's why you not only had the delegation from the White House and a lot of key politicians, but you also had some of our favorite tech CEOs from Silicon Valley making the trip over and putting on the white tie and also announcing a lot of investment.
Who were some of the key names? Sam was there.
Saw Jensen,
Benioff, right?
But Palantir, Anduril as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the main companies, you had Microsoft, so you had Satya there, you had Google, you had Nvidia. Also, Jensen was extremely bullish on the UK, and we'll maybe come back to that because he's sort of announced a multi-layered investment in the UK over multiple years. You also had Karp here from Palantir. You had Brian Schimpf from Anduril, and Sam Altman from OpenAI. So it was really, and there are a few others as well across, Blackstone and BlackRock. You also had a lot of the large big pharma and healthcare companies. GSK, for example, GlaxoSmithKline has announced that it's going to be investing a lot into US R&D. So it was really a big showing across major industries for investment on both sides of the Atlantic. But there was a huge representation from Silicon Valley. And I mean, just some of the numbers are quite impressive. So Microsoft announced that it's going to put $30 billion into the UK over the next 4 years. You had Google also committing around $7 billion. $30 billion. Yeah.
So much.
That's crazy.
You had Google announcing they're going to put $7 billion into a data center that they've already established. But the real number here that was impressive was NVIDIA. So Jensen really wasn't just taking off the black leather jacket for nothing. He's put $670 billion into a UK cloud computing company called Nscale, which is really designed to help the UK become an AI superpower, as he called it. So that specifically is into to manufacturing and the infrastructure. And then he's also potentially talking about putting $500 million into Wave, which is the main autonomous vehicle company here in the UK. I don't know if you've had Alex Kendall on TBPN.
No, we need
He's
to.
an amazing founder, brilliant UK founder. So Jensen's really, he did a whole separate event where he met with Prime Minister Keir Starmer and really announced with a lot of enthusiasm, such as the Huang style, that the UK is going to be a superpower, so AI superpower.
How should Americans be thinking about Keir Starmer as prime minister right now? Like, where does he fit in the left-right continuum? Or there's a lot of countries that have leaders who are leaning more Trumpian in their style, or leaning more focused on innovation, or leaning less lawyerly, more engineering focused. Like, how should people think about him who haven't dove very deep?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I think the first thing to know is that Keir Starmer came in on a landslide mandate, similarly to Trump earlier in the year. Early in the year to Trump. So in the same way that you had a new leadership come into the US at the end of last year, and then the inauguration earlier this year, the UK had a similar thing happen about 6 months before. So Keir Starmer came in, his party, the Labour Party, had been in opposition for a very long time. You'd had Boris Johnson and Conservatism for a long time. So it was a real big landslide change for the UK. So what that means is, similarly to the White House currently, the UK Prime Minister has a pretty large mandate for change. So even though, when I was sitting in the US at the end of last year, there was some trepidation around the fact that, the party is traditionally more left-leaning. It's called the Labour Party. However, what you've actually seen is, one, a real ability to drive change. So, the number one thing is, can you actually get legislation passed? And number two, and this was a sentiment echoed by quite a lot of tech CEOs yesterday, was a real pragmatism to actually getting stuff done. Now, my personal view is that the UK, after leaving the European Union, is now very much standing on its own. It's been able to reassert its relationship with the US. It's been able to carve out its own opinion on things like AI sovereignty. It can be sort of pro-AI. It doesn't get held back by some of the or I should say more risk-averse EU legislation.
More cookie-based.
So what you're really seeing now, yeah, exactly. So even though traditionally you might think of the Labour Party is more left-leaning, in the UK, everything is going to be slightly more central as well. It's it's just a smaller country, and so I think that you're not going to see as extremes. But what I've been really happy to hear from a lot of the CEOs I've spoken with is that there's this pragmatism to getting stuff done and being a pro business, open for business leadership within Europe.
I feel like this is a new thing where like the entire like America is going on tour. Like, we saw this in the Middle East, where it was like all of the tech CEOs and all the government people from the United States show up, and they're like, "We're all doing deals today." And then you see the Trump, and
it's a little
dinner.
Competition. Who's
the
biggest deal?
And at the dinner, it's like Mark Zuckerberg throws out a number, and then Tim Cook throws out a number, and it feels like it was the same thing this weekend or this week in the UK.
It was like that, but with frillier outfits.
Yes.
Tim Cook was also there. I mean, I'm gonna tweet an interesting list afterwards, but I highly recommend, if you have some downtime, just Googling some of the images from the last few days, because they were really quite something. The pageantry is quite impressive on the UK royal family side.
Nobody does it like the royal family.
What are the top sort of like priorities just for the British government right now? In the U.S., I mean, there's a lot of focus on tariffs, immigration, the overall economy. The economy feels like running hot. Everything's at all-time highs, from gold to Bitcoin to the stock market. At the same time, we're seeing weakness in the labor market. How are things feeling over in the UK broadly?
I think the UK's main focus is on growth. There are definitely a lot of issues, of course, around immigration. I think some of the highlighted issues on places like X have kind of showed that there are a lot of questions around immigration policy across Europe at the moment. The UK is definitely part of that. I think, from my perspective, a lot of the focus is really trying to drive a pro-tech, pro-growth environment. I think that traditionally, a lot of the growth in the UK has come from the city. So traditional, big finance players, it was a real hub for financial services. And I think that there's a recognition that the UK is actually, if you look at it, a really big hub for R&D. You've had, Google DeepMind originated in the UK. You've had a lot of advances in both synthetic bio and big pharma come out the UK. Hubs, not just in London, but real R&D centers like Oxford and Cambridge have really been leading for a long time. You've got the big semis company, Arm, based in the UK. So in the last few years, I think you've really seen governments on both sides of the aisle try and move away from like purely financial driven growth into tech and R&D. So that's something that I think the White House and 10 Downing Street are really aligned on. And this is obviously was a big sort of PR campaign to also show that the special relationship, as we call it, goes both ways. And I think something that was significant. A lot of people have said to me, okay, well, what's in it for the US? We're obviously investing a lot of money into the UK, but I think that if you look at how the US thinks about exporting its own AI data stack across the world, and you put that against some of the competition with the Far East and China, this was a really good opportunity for the US to kind of reassert its position as the dominant AI player. And they signed a really interesting memorandum. It was called the Tech Prosperity Deal. Lovely name.
Let's give it up for tech prosperity.
Yeah, exactly. Which basically allows the US to align on, how data models are built and some of the kind of, very cool things that the US cares about in terms of ensuring that the data stack is defined by the US and not by someone else.
Take us through an update on the private markets in Europe broadly, in the UK. Who are folks focused on at the growth stage? We were at the New York Stock Exchange. Was that last week? I keep losing track of time. But yes. Klarna IPO'd successfully, stock traded up.
How was the mood? I mean, it's obviously continued to hold up pretty well.
Yeah.
But I think
the mood was good. Our takeaway was kind of interesting with the CEO is that it was just another day for him. He didn't bring his family. He just came, raised some money, got in, got out.
It was a fundraise.
Whereas with Figma, it was this huge moment because a lot of folks in Brooklyn use Figma and Manhattan use Figma. And so
it's an American company, too.
It's an American company. They really focus on the story of Dylan and with Sebastian over at Klarna. It wasn't as much of like everyone is a partner in this ecosystem. But in general, it felt like a really good moment. People had been waiting for Klarna to go out for a long time, and it was great to see them get out successfully. But who else is driving this the market or the news?
Yeah, do you expect any type of spin-outs from DeepMind as well into like more like application layer companies, or do you feel like the researchers there are just going to be content to double down?
So I think just on that front as well. As you mentioned, I think both Dylan and Sebastian, amazing founders, really exciting that we're seeing the IPO market off to a good start at the moment. And I think
although StubHub is down.
StubHub had a hard time
from listing price yesterday, so
it's okay.
Okay, well,
we'll get it all back in the next one.
But I think that in terms of names to watch here, the big elephant in the room for a long time has been Revolut. So for those not familiar in the US market, Revolut is really the largest fintech player here in the UK. Its last valuation, I think, was around $70 billion. The last employee, I think that was a secondary. So that's really been the main question. Some of the news stories around that have been around its, banking license over the years and whether they were going to, go for an IPO. I think that one, continue to watch on. And if you look at Jensen's comments, even on this trip, he's even said that, NVIDIA may also invest in Revolut. So I think Jensen's he's really keen on the UK. We love Jensen.
He's pumping everything. It's great.
I think in terms of Google DeepMind, I'm unclear if they're going to be, spin outs. I think that, the UK government has always looked at DeepMind as an example of UK companies that really should have been able to stay and prosper in the UK or within Europe. And so I think that you're going to continue to see a lot of focus on, UK's own AI infrastructure, the energy stack that's required for that. So we also had quite a lot of announcements around nuclear this week, because of course the energy question is a big one for the UK. Interestingly, actually, one of the other things the White House got out of this week's negotiations was that there is a commitment to the UK from being completely unreliant on any Russian nuclear energy as well. So I think that you're really seeing both the UK shore up its energy stack, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the UK really wants to try and make itself a great hub for AI talent, whether that be through Google DeepMind or some of the other really exciting companies like Wave.
Yeah,
makes sense.
As extra context, in 2021, Demis Hassabis over at DeepMind co-founded Isomorphic Labs, which is a spin out, but still, I believe, private and owned by Alphabet and DeepMind, and they're focused.
I meant
artificial
more
intelligence
like net
for
new companies,
drug
not
discovery.
Alphabet owned, that type of thing.
Yeah,
and he's still based in the UK, which the Prime Minister always likes to point out, but he's still working with Satya, so with Google,
Gemini.
with Ruth.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for hopping on the show.
Always great to get that.
Always great to hang out with you.
Always fun to chat with you guys.
We'll talk to you soon, Pippa.
Cheers.
Bye.
Hopefully we can have a new tennis tournament sometime soon, so Pippa comes back to the U.S.
I'd love it.
Seems like that's what gets her over here. Should we talk about
Vanta? Automate compliance, manage risk, improve trust continuously. Vanta's trust management platform takes your manual work out of your security and compliance process and replaces it with continuous automation, whether you're pursuing your first framework or managing a complex program. Back in America, we should talk about this house in Malibu. Johnny Carson's longtime Malibu home lists for $110 million. I've been to this house. An early investor in Jewel and a Hard Rock Cafe heiress are selling the modern California house, which the talk show icon owned until his death in 2005. It's 10,000 square foot, 6-bedroom house on roughly 4 acres. And we'll go through a little bit of this. For more than 20 years, Johnny Carson lived in a modern triangular-shaped home perched on a bluff overlooking Little Point Dume.
How did you never...
I've talked to you about this.
You told me that Johnny Carson lived on the bluff in Point Dume.
Yeah, I definitely told you this as we were driving by it together.
Interesting.
Probably told you multiple times.
Interesting.
Who knows? You might have been locked in. You might have been on the timeline. There might have been something more. There might have been a more pressing current thing to be monitoring. You might have been monitoring the situation. It's amazing. The property, which has changed hands multiple times since his death, has been redecorated and is going back on the market. The price tag is more than double what the sellers paid for it in 2019.
$40 million in 2019.
I know.
I every time you look back at things that you could buy before COVID, it's painful. It really
it's crazy. Because the famed talk show host bought the estate in the 1980s, about a decade before ending his 30-year run helming The Tonight Show. He owned the property at the time of his death in 2005. The current owners are the venture capitalist Rayaz Villani, an early investor in the e-cigarette maker Juul, and his wife, Hard Rock Cafe heiress Augusta Tigret. The couple paid $40 million. In 2019, as you mentioned. Look at Johnny Carson looking great in, of course, a Johnny Carson suit. Fantastic, interesting story about this. Johnny Carson was so was so dominant in the culture. I mean, the Tonight Show was one of just a few late night shows because we didn't have the proliferation of the internet. There were only a few things that you could watch every night, and he was absolutely dominant. At the top of his game.
Viewers was he pulling nightly?
I believe it was like tens of millions. It was massive. I might have that wrong, but the interesting story was that he was so focused on his craft, he was not interested in business at all, really, and so he had a business partner who said, hey, you wear a suit every night. We should get you a custom suit. We'll start a D2C apparel company, effectively, Carson suits, and we'll sell those suits, and then you'll be able to market them on the show. But he didn't really care about contracts or understand business, and so his business partner.
We gotta get one of these. You can find. I'm on eBay right now. 1970s Johnny Carson suit for 170.
You gotta get one of those. That sounds amazing.
I gotta get one of these.
But his business partner set up the Carson suit enterprise, and I don't believe he had equity in it. And so he would get free suits, but he wasn't making any money off of it. For years, Carson was not monetizing well at all. But eventually, he went back and renegotiated his contract, got ownership over the Tonight Show, and was one of the few late night hosts to actually own his own show, have full control over it. And then after he died and retired, the Tonight Show, the catalog, and there's merch, and there's DVD sales, and there's greatest hits. All of those would be sold and continue to generate revenue, even though it was a daily show. But there were a lot of iconic comedy moments that happened on that show. So back to the house. Riaz, Vellani, and Tigret also have homes in London and Northern California. They viewed the estate as an investment property where they could entertain. Tigret said, they redecorated the 2-bedroom main house and had plans drawn up to add 2 new houses and another pool, but didn't end up building them. It is a remarkable property how large it is, and then it's just a 2-bedroom. But it has all these massive open spaces you can see in those images. They are selling because they have decided to focus on real estate investments in Northern California. It was designed by architect Ed Niles. The main house is about 7,100 square feet. Triangles appear throughout the house. The dining room is a triangular shape, as is the wood and glass ceiling. As is the wood and glass ceiling of the central atrium where mature trees are situated. The estate also has a 2-bedroom guest house, a tennis pavilion with 2 guest rooms, and is said to have been a gift from Carson to Carson from NBC. Tigret said one of her favorite parts of the house is an outdoor dining area with a large round table where guests would congregate, violating the triangle symbolism with the round table. We had so many important business meetings there, she said. The area is naturally shaded thanks to a coral tree and a pepper tree whose branches grew together over time, creating a leafy canopy. And it is beautiful. There's a massive tree inside the house. I don't know if you can see this in the images, but and the tennis court.
This view of the tennis court
it's so
over the bluff.
Crazy how big this tennis court is. It's wild. Yeah, you can see that. That's insane.
So insane.
The property is among the largest in Point Dume, where standard lot sizes are roughly 1 acre. This one is, of course, 4 acres. The main house
the
is
listing
situated,
agent Chris Cortazzo,
friend
of mine.
Well, you know him?
I bought my house through his firm.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah.
The main house is situated closer to the bluff than houses that can be built today, he noted. The $110 million asking price is warranted by recent trades, he said, including a property that recently sold.
So there's
for
a house
million.
right nearby this that's I think it's like a 2-bedroom house. Mm-hmm. That has similar views that sold for 80. It's literally a shack that sold for 80 down the road.
Absolutely
so
crazy.
This makes that makes 110 for this spot look like an absolute bargain.
It's great. You know what else is a bargain? Graphite.dev, code review for the age of AI. Graphite helps teams on GitHub ship higher quality software faster. You can get started for free. Road River Partners, I've never seen this account before, no profile picture, says in the late 1990s, a pal attended a dinner for tech hedge fund CIOs.
All the top guys.
All the top
guys were there.
All the top guys at the time. $25,000 of wine was consumed and portfolios were shared. My pal was sitting at 135% gain for the year, and his performance was the worst in the room. By far, a week later, he'd gone He'd went 100% cash. He was the only one that survived the next 3 years. Pretty insane. Pretty crazy. You're looking around. Too much wine. I'm up 135%. And I look like the idiot. Maybe it's time to rotate into
the
something
account
else.
here asking Coward, Mr. Coward.
Coward Nutleg.
But why did he go 100% cash?
Because everyone else was up way more. Yes.
What if he just like gave up? He's like, I'm terrible at this. Selling to cash. He's gonna just like go distribute everything out and just quit. And then he's just looking around like, wait, I'm the only one standing.
Yeah,
maybe
it's remarkable. Well,
no, I do know. My dad always told me a story about one of his college buddies just went 100% to 100% to gold, like right before the great financial crisis, and just like ended up just absolutely printing.
Great. Well, whatever asset you want to invest in, go to public.com. They got multi-asset investing. It's investing for those who take it seriously. They got industry-leading yields, trusted by millions. You can lock in.
We're not allowed to give financial advice, but I think it's fair to ask you to take it seriously.
In other news, we interviewed a lot of fun people at the Meta Connect 2025 event. The one that broke through on the internet, on Teapot, on X, was, of course, our interview with Chief Wearables Officer at Luxottica,
Rocco
Basilico. Rocco Basilico. Mullen says, I'm sorry, his name is what? We live in a simulation, dog. And this got 3,000 views. There was another. There were a couple other
we need to
posts.
Give some background
like
on Rocco. 7.4.
No relation to Roscoe from the Roscoe Chicken and Waffles chain
that we know of.
But we really enjoyed talking to him.
Also, no relation to Rothko, the artist.
Oh, Mark Rothko. Yes, I don't think so. People had a ton of fun with this. Where was the other post in here? Someone else was saying something about. Richard says, my name is Rocco's Basilisk, and I'm making artificial intelligence that you put on your body. That one got
so let's give some backstory. Tyler, do you want to give some backstory on Rocco?
Yeah, what is the joke that people are making here?
Okay, yes. So his name basically sounds like Rocco's Basilisk.
Yes.
Which is like this famous thought experiment from Less Wrong in like early 2010s, I think.
Yeah.
Basically, the idea is like, okay, so there's going to be some future super intelligent AI.
Yep.
And like you can do this kind of like decision making where it's kind of similar to like this prisoner's dilemma thing where there's two agents.
Yeah, Pascal's wager. What is Pascal?
Where basically you can chart it out to where like the idea is you have this super intelligent AI. By the time it gets to becoming like instantiated, the idea is that it's gonna like punish people that did not like accelerate.
Did not help it be born.
Yeah. And the idea is actually it's not just
if you didn't love me at my benchmarks, you don't deserve me at
my ASI.
Super intelligence.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's basically like the whole thing is like it's like an information hazard. Mm-hmm. This like term. Eliezer actually banned like discussion of the topic from
why?
Less Wrong for like 5 years.
Oh, because it's a justification for accelerating super intelligence.
I think so, but also
you don't want to be the safety guy.
Yeah, but the whole thing is like if you chart it out, basically, it only applies to you if you like learned about this idea. So like if you knew about the idea of Rocco's Basilisk then, and you didn't like start accelerating AI, then it's going to punish you.
Yeah.
And this is why we covered Meta Connect, and we covered.
Isn't there some lore about Rocco's Basilisk? And
like the whole idea is like it's a basilisk because like if you look
what
at
is a basilisk? Is that a snake?
Yeah, it's like in mythology, if you look at the basilisk in the eye, then you like instantly die.
Yeah.
So it's like if you learn about this thing and you don't do anything, then you like will be punished by the future AI.
Apparently, this is what originally brought Elon Musk and Grimes together. Musk was going to tweet about Rococo's basilisk, which is a reference to Rococo, the 18th century Baroque art style, and they bonded over that. He discovered that Grimes had made the same joke 3 years earlier and reached out to her about it. One can only speculate about. Very, very interesting. thought experiment. Well, we should have asked him about it, because I wonder how aware he is. It can't be the first time he's heard that his name sounds like Rocco's basilisk, right?
Yeah, I assume
he must
not.
be aware. Well,
he's tapped in.
Yeah,
we'll
have to.
I mean, the story of him just like cold emailing Zuck,
hilarious.
Like, hey, I think we should do some international business together.
Let's hop on a quick call.
He made it happen.
Yeah. I wonder if Zuck knew about Rocco's basilisk when he got that, because then it's like you're getting an email from Rocco's basilisk asking if you want to help accelerate AI.
Yeah, you have to say yes.
You have to say yes, otherwise you're going to be.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think it's one of the most like underhyped like partnerships.
Yeah.
Of the last few years, right? It's so strategic for both sides. It gives Meta this incredible, durable advantage to be able to innovate on the technology side and not on the design side.
Yep.
And it gives Luxottica the ability to defend itself and actually thrive in a world where, you know,
we were debating.
Everybody's wearing smart glasses.
Yeah, we were debating.
I think that's actually the thing, right? It's like there's people that don't wear glasses today that may or may not be using smart glasses in a few years. But Zuck brought this up. There's like 1 to 2 billion people in the world that wear glasses all the time and looking good.
I mean, people were, we were debating with a few people about whether or not the Meta AI glasses. Oh, I just triggered it. It's talking now. Whether you can immediately clock them, whether they look like tech nerd gear, or whether you can pass amongst normies, the unaugmented, as someone who's just wearing Ray-Bans. And I was leaning in the camp of like, if someone throws on Meta Ray-Bans and they do have the cameras on there, but they're not recording, there's no light, you kind of don't notice. But other people were saying, I don't know, like you can still see the camera lenses and it still reads as it's a little like tech nerdy. But I think it's like the best possible.
That's a specific frame though. Like
this is actually an Oakley frame with no sunglass in it. It's just eyeglasses. But the original Meta Ray-Bans, they do look exactly like Ray-Bans, an iconic silhouette and something that people are very confident in wearing. And I think even with the cameras on there, even though you can see them, people are much more willing to throw them on when they go out. And you do face a little bit of like, oh, like you're like a tech nerd. You're trying like the new thing. Like it's not as I mean, it's like carrying.
Yeah, but think of the billion plus people that just wear glasses because they need them to see. They already wear glasses, and then you say like, hey, do you want a small display in those?
Yes.
That can give you directions. Yeah. You can use to play music.
And chunky frames are kind of in right now.
Messages come in on.
It's kind of a vibe. And so I think I mean I agree. It is an underrated partnership. It's a great partnership. I wonder. I'm like dying to know what well, first off, like what Apple's response will be like, because I feel like they could. I'm imagining that they're going to be white for some reason. I don't know why, but I just have like.
Well, I also think they could do the clear one, like the old Macs.
Yeah,
right, where you could see all the internals.
They've really moved away from that aesthetic,
though. But if they brought it back, I think people.
It just feels like they haven't even done black AirPods, right? Like the AirPods. Maybe they could do the Beats line and use some of that.
By the way, apparently the new phone scratches like crazy.
I saw a picture of it cracking.
People have been reporting this,
but. Yeah, what was it? They went back to aluminum or something?
Yeah.
People don't like that?
Titanium. It was a good run.
I don't know.
It was a good run.
I think well, you already purchased it, so it's in the mail?
Yeah, this is bullish for Apple, the fact that I'm not going to get it for more than, like, basically I'm going to get it in like 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well.
They're selling.
Julius AI, what analysis do you want to run? Chat with your data and get expert level insights in seconds. Go to Julius.
Let's pull up this video of Matthew
McConaughey.
I'll be right back.
Matthew McConaughey says he wants a private LLM fed only with his books, notes, journals, and aspirations, so he can ask it questions and get answers based solely on that information without any outside influence. Now, like, that's impossible, right? Just because you need to do pre-training on something or other, right?
Yeah, I mean, unless his books are like the length of like the internet.
Yeah.
I don't think the model would be very good if you just train it on like 5 books.
So really, he's kind of saying like he wants something fine-tuned.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he doesn't really understand how they're trained.
Yeah.
But Yeah,
Oh, well.
you could instantiate this, I guess, through fine-tuning it.
Let's play the Matthew McConaughey clip and see what he has to say.
LLM, where I can upload, hey, here's 3 books I've written. Here's my other favorite books.
Right.
Here's my favorite articles I've been cutting and pasting over the 10 years, and log all that in. And here's all my journals, whatever, the people and log all that in, so I can ask it questions based on that.
Right.
And basically learn more about myself.
Right.
I stand on the political spectrum.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah. I'd like to. No, that's what I would like to do, which is sort of a glorified Word document, but it still would hold a lot more information than just, oh, can you find this term? I would be asking it, and it would be responding to me on things that I've forgotten along the way. Load it with the information I'd like to load it with.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe even, like I'm saying, in the words of belief, in the man I'm working to be, the man I want. Load it with that. Load it with my aspirational
self,
and then ask it, and it's giving me answers. Going, oh, this is. But before, it's slowly learning about me through conversations. Then going, oh, I think this is what you like based on a conversation. No, I want the answers based on what I've
Can you play the beginning of this
uploaded.
again? He uses some funny phrase. Well, what does he say at the beginning?
I am interested though in a private LLM.
Private.
Where I can upload. Hey. Here's 3 books I've written. Here's my other favorite.
You can do this with custom
Here's my
GPTs.
favorite articles I've been cutting and pasting.
You can do this with like a ton of wrappers that chat with PDF.
Log all that in. That's what he keeps saying. Okay, yeah. I love that he says he wants to log it in. No one's talking about logging data into your private LLM. Like, this is the future. No one's tried logging content into a private LLM.
This has like been possible for like 3 years.
But no one has
just embedding your.
Oh, embedding? That doesn't sound like logging something in.
Logging,
That's what I want. I want to log it in. I want to log in my favorite book. I want to log in my favorite article. Log in the Holy Bible. Sounds like that's what he's doing.
He should hit up Salesforce for this. He's
true.
Close
yeah.
With
what do they have? Merlin AI or something?
Well, he's close
and
with
Einstein.
Benioff. He's one of the faces.
Yeah, he's one of the faces,
Salesforce.
and they have Einstein AI. He should fine tune it. Fine tune it on Matthew McConaughey mode. That, I mean, Einstein AI, I feel like missed opportunity to personify the AI much more. Should have gone. Microsoft's going to have Clippy. We're getting Ani from XAI. Every company is going to need their own personified AI, and I'd be much more likely to use Salesforce's AI if I knew I was talking to
Matthew
McConaughey.
In other news, Howard Lutnick
Yes.
is posting screenshots of his portfolio.
Wait, really?
No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
I mean, it's close. Pull up this next post.
Yeah.
It's a picture of from Trump on Truth Social of an AI slop of him sitting at his desk with bought Intel at $20. Now it's $30.
He's happy.
So
well, in other somewhat political news, TikTok sale announced by, we're tracking this on Polymarket, December 31st is now at a 79% chance that a TikTok sale will be announced. So
and Polymarket also got a market up on will Tesla acquire XAI in 2025. So the market will resolve to yes. It is officially announced that XAI has been, or is being acquired or merged with Tesla.
I could see that happening. I'm interested to keep tracking.
See.
In other XAI news, Nikita Beer says the goal for your X timeline is to get out of the mainstream algo and political crusades and find your niche. You should be able to post about your interests and have friendly, relevant people chime in. And I feel like I've been able to do this. Like, you do have to be proactive about it still. You have to say, I'm not interested in this post. You have to send a lot of likes and retweets to content that you actually like, engage with it, reply to people that you like in real life, that you like in your niche. But my algorithm has been doing well, and I'm hoping that they continue to improve it. Elon says the algorithm will be purely AI by November with significant progress along the way. We will open source the algorithm every 2 weeks or so. I wonder how that, like, once it's purely AI, it's driven by just weights. Are they going to open source the weights, open weights, or fully open source the model? Like, that sounds crazy. What do you think, Tyler?
It's kind of unclear by AI. I assume he means like LLMs, because like if you just say like AI, like it's kind of already done by AI.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to like open source the algorithm, and the algorithm is just like recommendation.next, parentheses, like inference the model is the Python code. And it's like, yep, we didn't change it. It still
this
just goes
crazy.
And finds the next
Breaking news.
Breaking
Trump
news?
is adding $100,000 application fee for H-1B visas in the latest crackdown.
In other breaking news, fall.ai. The world's best generative image and video models all in one place. Develop and fine-tune models with serverless GPUs and on-demand clusters. In the Wall Street Journal,
Tyler,
the UAE.
Project.
Yes.
I want to add tbpn.com/sounds, and it's the digital version of our soundboard that people can use in their meetings.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, we got to do that.
Given to me in a DM.
Yeah.
And
soundboard at home.
So yeah, just try to wrap it up in the next. Wrap it up in the next
Don't
5,
make
10
mistakes.
minutes. And
don't make mistakes. The United Arab Emirates is buying houses in Washington D.C. They have a $200 million collection now. The government's latest purchase is a $27.5 million spec home in McLean, Virginia. I don't know if I'm actually saying that correctly. This week, it added a roughly 21,000-foot spec estate in Virginia, paying $27.5 million in an off-market deal. The deal is the most expensive home sale to close in the capital region this year. The UAE, directly or through its employees or royals, owns at least 21 properties in the area worth roughly $200 million. The Emiratis have purchased so much real estate at such high prices in recent years that they've helped reset values in the Gold Coast region.
let's give it up for resetting values.
Yeah. According to real estate agents. The house was recently restaged to give it a modern minimalist look. Each time they purchase something, it's a big number, says a real estate agent of Compass. The estate is located near Langley, where the CIA is based. With a 6-bedroom main house and a pool house, it was constructed as a spec home by Ambar Homes, a luxury development firm headed by local dentist and entrepreneur Dr. Sonu Kakar. Kakar said he bought the land for $2.1 million, started construction in 2022. It took him 4 years to start construction, completed the house 2 years later. So he's selling this big house. It was first listed for $29.9, came down a bit, but they got the deal done. There's a marketing video showing a motorcade of Cadillac Escalades resembling a diplomatic entourage heading up a winding driveway to the newly built modern mansion. Check this out.
They made a hype video?
They made a hype video, a startup launch video for their house. It's funny. It's like they knew who they were selling this to. They're like, we got this house and we're going to show a bunch of
a home hype
big
video
Cadillac.
at the timeline.
Wait, did you guys scroll that fast? It plays it that fast? That's in the video. That's baked in. They're doing hype videos for sure. That's a vibe reel if I ever saw one. The UAE's residences are dotted in large clumps across the capital region, typically on prime waterfront lots. On Crest Lane, the country owns several homes on the bank of the Potomac. That's where the ambassador's official residence and guest house are located. Well, you got to go hang out in D.C., do deals, and so you got to have some big houses for your folks to come and hang out at. On Chainbridge Road, one of the area's most upscale neighborhoods, the Emiratis paid just under $43 million in 2020 for a riverfront estate previously owned by AOL co-founder James Kimsey in 2020. The same year, the country purchased a vacant lot nearby for $20 million.
Are they actually just buying these on the balance sheet?
I think so. I think they got cash to spend. And they want to come visit. And when they want to come visit, they want to have a nice place to entertain, host guests, do deals, all the above. If you're a startup, you got a couple $100 million burning a hole in your pocket, you're doing deals in DC, pick up a $23 million mansion.
Yeah, why not?
Mark Zuckerberg did. Earlier this year, Meta founder Mark Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla Chan purchased a $23 million mansion in Washington, D.C. Of course, that is much smaller than what the Emiratis have been picking up. But regardless, you got to get your brand mentioned in ChatGPT. Go to Profound, reach millions of customers who are using AI to discover new products and brands. TJ Parker has posted.
Yeah, that's a good post. The bull case for Apple and AI is they're going to completely avoid enormous amounts of CapEx spend, get most of the consumer value from intelligently integrating Gemini, and get paid a boatload of money from Google for doing so. And I agree. I do think it is frustrating as a user that Apple has moved slowly and somewhat ineffectively on AI. but I don't think they're in a bad spot from a business standpoint.
No, nothing's gotten me to consider moving off of Apple. Like, even if iPhone Air doesn't have the right battery life, or iPhone Pro, cracks or whatever, if I need a case on it, it's like I'll solve all of that. I'm sticking with.
And that's a big question.
Sticking with Cupertino.
The big question with the new Meta displays is there a world where, because right now when we demo the displays, you can get an Instagram DM, you can get a WhatsApp message, and it will pop up in your display, nice little notification.
Yep.
But the question is, will they be able to figure out a deal with Apple so you can get iMessage piped into there?
So yesterday, MetaConnect continued, and they did talk about the developer kit, the SDK, how developers can integrate, and they had a couple of integrations. They did one with Twitch, so you can live stream from the devices, from the Meta Ray-Ban displays. They did one with Streamlabs and Disney, and there were a few others. They're still pretty niche, and they're all partnered with like pretty big companies, the type of companies that would do like pretty big press junkets for these, but some cool demos. I thought that they were interesting. I'm very interested in the Twitch demo. Obviously, we live stream on Twitch. Thank you to Bobby Cosmic in the Twitch chat holding it down. But it seemed like the live streaming capability, which we didn't expect to launch very quickly, is going to launch. It is going to be live. You are going to be able to live stream from the glasses, but the amount of time that you can actually spend live streaming is pretty short. It didn't seem like something where you could be streaming for hours. It was probably minutes. There were different timers that popped up when I was looking at the video, kind of showing, okay, if you keep streaming at this scale, it's gonna the chips are gonna be on fire. You're gonna run out of battery life pretty quickly, and so like there might be all day battery life, but that's more like all day battery life for the occasional picture and the occasional Meta AI LLM query, not all day battery life stream your entire life. Like you were mentioning that the AI mode was maybe an hour max.
Live AI
was maybe an hour max. There's a lot there.
Using it to translate. Real time.
And I think it's also taking pictures of what you're seeing while it's doing that for the actual, for the extra context there. Anyway, if you're planning to build a product that integrates with Meta AI display glasses, you got to get on Linear. Linear is a purpose-built tool for planning and building products. It's a double kill. You can plan and build the products, meet the system for modern software development, streamline issues, projects, and product roadmaps. Jeremy Giffon has a post.
Hot take.
Wouldn't be surprised if this was printed in the legacy media soon, but
I wouldn't be surprised
we're
if he
seeing it on
wrote it by hand, wrote some drafts out on a piece of paper, and then transferred it. And had maybe a member of his team, one of his guys, actually post it first.
So he says the chief of staff is overrated. We need more confidants. Eminence Grizzies? I don't know what that is. Viziers, Praetorians. There is a phalanx of different guys you can have at your side. You don't need to copy the president. Consider the king or the priest or the emperor instead.
Banger.
It must have the title grand in front. I think we got to give
we do this
a
pretty
new
well.
title. He needs to be a confidant or a grand vizier.
Yes.
I think a vizier is a good title.
Our first hire was a vice president.
Our first hire was a vice president. We have a wheelman. We have a VP of logistics.
Yep.
We have a few other folks. A CIO, of course.
Yep.
Chief Intern Officer Tyler Cosgrove over there holding it down.
Yep.
Breaking it down.
Jim Cramer says that 30-year Treasury better start behaving. That is
Get
a
it
bar.
in order.
He also posted a picture of him hugging Tim Cook, saying, own it, don't trade it.
I love this. He said this 10 years ago. We reacted to his interview with Tim Cook on Squawk Box or on Mad Money a decade ago. The stock had sold off. They'd hit earnings. They beat earnings. They generated something like $10 billion in free cash flow, but it wasn't enough for the street. And so Cramer did a very interesting interview with Tim Cook where he explains that he is excited about the company. He personally is bullish on the company, but he has to get the story straight for what the street is saying. And the Wall Street traders were saying, Apple, will this company go the way of HP or Compaq or IBM? Like, have they reached stagnation? And Tim Cook says, no. We're going to keep growing. We're going to keep compounding. You don't even know how much revenue we're going to make off of the App Store. And he kind of teases, he says, hey, services are going to be big. The iPhone's still going to be very big. And he was 100% right.
We got a great toll road going.
Yeah.
Based 16Z
speaking
says,
of toll roads, the tax is a toll road on your business. Don't waste any time with it. Head over to Numeral HQ. Put your sales tax on autopilot.
That's right.
Numeral is the platform for sales tax and VAT compliance.
And we have Sam from Numeral, the CEO, joining in just a little bit. Looking forward to that. Base 16Z just shared a screenshot of CNBC. They said New York will soon send its quote, first ever inflation refund checks to taxpayers.
Is this the state or the city?
New York, the state of New York will be giving you a refund for inflation.
They're paying back.
Concerning.
Well, we'll see.
What else we got here?
There's news about OpenAI. OpenAI has approached Gore-Tech, which assembles AirPods, HomePods, and Apple Watches to supply components such as speaker modules for OpenAI's future products. One of the products OpenAI has talked to suppliers about making resembles a smart speaker without a display, the people said. Would you carry this with you? Would you have this in your home? OpenAI has also considered building glasses, a digital voice recorder, and a wearable pin, and is targeting late 2026 or early 2027 for the release of its first devices. Digital voice recorder. You know who really convinced me? Who was really convincing at the Meta Connect event? Was it the VP of wearables? He was saying he believes in kind of Lindy form factors.
Yeah,
you wear a watch,
glasses.
So he had a Garmin on. You wear glasses. People don't wear a lot of pins. Maybe if you're the hand of the king, you wear a pin. Maybe a crown, a cane, a smart cane is an interesting idea. But it does seem like it's harder to get people to wear
so it's interesting that OpenAI is saying we're going to do a speaker, or at least that's, reading between the lines, that's what they would do here. But Apple is, remember, they're building the smart lamp.
Yep.
For your.
Are they?
Well, this was teased.
Oh yeah,
a while back,
it is.
Remember?
It's not really that. It's an iPod. It's an iPad on a robotic arm that can follow you around the room in the kitchen.
I know. I mean, I just meant more of the Pixar lamp.
It does feel Pixar lamp-esque, and I'm actually very excited about that product. I think it'll be very cool. But maybe they should.
Here.
There was a post a couple days ago, from someone saying like Apple should lean into. They should make just an actual lamp. You don't need to throw crazy AI. It doesn't need to be iPhone level internals. Just apply your design skills to industrial design all over the home.
We've asked for this stuff, the TV,
but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen unless you have the full flywheel of you can take a cut of everything that happens on that device. You have an app store. You have all the downstream stuff. You have a solid replacement cycle. When was the last time you upgraded your TV? Happens like once every 5 years, 10 years. And yet people upgrade their phones. They lose their AirPods. They get new AirPods. They get the latest iPad, iMac.
If Apple made it a battery-powered TV, then you'd be forced to replace your TV every.
I think you're talking about the Apple Vision Pro, which is the vision for where that goes. Well, speaking of Hollywood visions, Near is shouting out Alibaba's character swap via Wan 2.2 Animate. Very impressive and free and open source. By the way, this lets you insert yourself as the main character or anyone. Here we go. Let's play it.
Mr. Sorkin, you are 5 minutes late. Is there a reason why I should let you in?
I'm just trying to ditch the cops, okay? I don't really care if you let me in or not.
This is going to be pretty viral.
Mr. Spector will be right with you.
This is going to definitely launch some startup videos.
Can I get you anything? A coffee?
Someone's going to use this to do a startup launch video very soon. Pretty cool, swapping yourself in. It really does it flawlessly. Remarkable. Look at that. I'm a fan.
I have to know.
Yeah, another tool in the toolkit for video
get
creators. Much like Fin.ai, the #1 AI agent for customer service, #1 in performance benchmarks, #1 in competitive bake-offs, #1 ranking on G2. We have another. It's the Mansion section today. It's Friday in the Wall Street Journal.
Another one.
Kara Ross, the ex-wife of billionaire Stephen Ross, who created Related Properties, the man who created the strip mall, essentially. She is putting her New York home on the market.
The gemologist and jewelry designer bought the Lenox Hill Co-op around the same time she filed for divorce from the Miami Dolphins owner.
$9.75 million, she's asking. She bought it for $5.6 million in 2021. Around the same time she filed for divorce, she tapped the lauded designers Tony Ingrao and Randy Kemper, who worked on the couple's former home in Columbus Circle, to reconfigure and redesign the apartment. The apartment is 2,500 square feet, has 2 bedrooms and a large terrace. The terrace is 2,000 square feet. So she referred to it as a diamond in the rough, of course. A play on words because she is a jewelry designer. Yeah, she is a jewelry designer. They've been worn. Her designs have been worn by the likes of former First Lady Michelle Obama. And so, if you're looking to pick up something in Manhattan, give her a call. It was a classic old apartment with hallways and drop ceilings and beams and beams in all the wrong places. They focused on opening up the layout so that the terrace is visible from the entrance to the apartment, even removing one of the 3 bedrooms. Now the expansive living area has a backlit onyx bar that can change color to fit the mood.
They've really got to swap out the current furniture and just redo the interior because this place is not looking as good as it
homey. It doesn't look like you could just hang out here and crash. In a short time that she's lived there, Cara says she's hosted several events, including her daughter's engagement party. I love to have friends and family over to create a nice environment for them. The co-op market has been soft in recent years, but listing agent expects to see demand for this property because it is newly renovated. Apartments like that sell for a premium because time is money. Homes that require renovation are still trading at a discount. In 2022, Stephen Ross sold the couple's former condo near Columbus Circle for about $40 million, a significant discount from its original $75 million price tag. That building was completed in the early 2000s by a partnership that included Related. So he used his own firm. Stephen, who acquired the Dolphins around 2009, has since launched a new company focused on development in West Palm Beach, which is very, very popular. And if you're looking to grow your business, get on Addio. Customer relationship magic. Addio is the AI native CRM that builds, scales, and grows your company to the next level. Ben Lang has a good purchase.
Best $25 purchase, a Bluetooth device to connect AirPods on any plane.
A couple of people post about this.
I put this in here not for this use case, but to bring up this sort of funny state of the world where every single hospitality-esque business just adopted USB.
Yes, at the worst possible time.
Now everything is USB-C.
Yes.
So I was on a plane the other week. They had a
USB-A.
USB-A. It was a charter that I got through Preston Holland. Preston Holland. And I was just like, the plane had been refurbished in 2020, and it still had USB-A. I was like, what's going on here? And then we were at a hotel for MetaConnect the other day, and it's like, great. I'm glad I have USB-A charging here next to the... And it seems like you could create a business just going around to a lot of these different types of companies that have installed USB-A and just be like, look, this is not this is no longer an amenity.
Yeah.
In fact, it's a frustration because I check into a hotel room and I'm like, great, I'm glad I could charge a USB-A device here. Thank you for this.
Hopefully USB-C is the final format. Although you know that there are 12 different standards for what goes in a USB-C cable. So USB-C is the shape. It's not actually the data transfer. And so
the final shape. I just wanted to be the final shape,
which is fine, but there are slow USB-C ports, there are fast USB-C ports. There's Thunderbolt 4, which is a faster protocol that goes over USB-C. It's all a mess. But
we have an iPhone review from Joanna Stern. Let's pull up this video. I thought this was important for the audience to see. So she has the new iPhone.
This is the new iPhone. This is the Air?
This is the Air.
I felt like the Air had round edges. It has sharp edges.
That looks like the air to me.
She's cutting cheese with it.
She's cutting the cheese.
She has a little viral sense going. She, of course, is the tech reviewer over at the Wall Street Journal. Fantastic stuff.
Well, without further ado, we should bring on our second guest of the show and our first in-person guest.
Let's go.
Aaron.
Welcome to the show. How you
Welcome
doing, Aaron?
To the show. Announced his Series A today.
Congratulations. Good to see you.
Welcome to the Ultradome.
Welcome.
You got a mic here. Keep it close.
Hello.
Introduce yourself. How's it going?
Aaron Slodov, CEO, Atomic Industries.
Very, very few people have sat here at this table with us.
I thought this was appropriate, right? I mean,
yeah, it's great.
You got a round to announce?
What's the news today?
Well, the first news is I got some merch here.
Let's see it.
It's the first of kind merch, and you can take a look at the hats or some of the shirts.
You go in with wild colors.
I'm going with brown. Brown is the most underrated color on earth. Here
That's
we go.
A clay. We got a good clay.
Oh, a clay.
Love it.
Nice. Here we go.
Industries.
Very, very cool.
What was the inspiration?
Well,
the inspo for these?
Yeah.
So these are obviously not like our official logo.
Yeah.
And I have, I'm going to have to airdrop you some hoodies, I guess, too. But
do it.
I had a great guy on Instagram who basically takes corporate logos and, you know, vintagifies them.
Yeah.
And yeah, so special edition.
2019, it's overnight success.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually met in Pasadena. We got coffee, probably 2021, something like that.
Yeah.
We broke it all down.
It's been
absolutely brutal to start an American dynamism business like 4 years before the word was.
Yeah, for sure.
The trend was created.
Yeah. Break down the news today.
All right, so Series A.
You can hold this while you do it.
Oh boy. So we have
a lot of gong hits.
Yeah, a lot of gong hits.
We put that through its paces.
So this is kind of a bunch of great market validation. We're going to dump this into R&D, a little bit of like expansion on the footprint, and actually, if you want, instead of doing like a fancy render, I can actually show you guys a little clip of the new factory.
Yeah,
let's do it. Do we have a video pulled up already?
Let's pull it up. Wait, this is in Detroit?
This is in Detroit.
Making Detroit. Bring it to
Detroit.
Midwest
sign a lease?
This is, wow, that's huge.
There we go.
Yeah.
That is a huge
You can make
facility.
a lot of things in that.
Yeah, it's a lot of, we're going to keep the floor dirt like that.
We had you call in and you were walking around the previous facility. It didn't look small. What goes on the floor? Are you like at the point where you're like copy pasting the same work cell over and over again?
Not quite yet, but you know, the idea behind what we're doing is we started kind of software first, right? To kind of prove the concept that we could actually design something in, you know, at the same clip that like a trade expert could. So we did that first. That was enough proof to actually get the first factory off the ground. And then the design software started, you know, saturating into the molds that we would make, right? Like at that factory. Now we're kind of moving into the actual production of parts. So this facility, we're going to basically have factory 1 and 2. That's the footprint that we're using.
Yep.
Factory 1 makes the molds. We ship it to factory 2 to actually make the parts. So that facility will just be nothing but part making.
What's the wheelhouse part that you make? Like what's the canonical example?
Name it.
Name every part. Yeah, name every part.
Every part.
You make parts. Name every part.
We got a lot of parts here. Yeah, I mean, basically, what we're doing is trying to focus on taking like specialist shop knowledge, right? Like you would go to a shop that's really good at doing like automotive parts or aerospace parts and generalizing that same capability like across the board. So our envelope or constraint is kind of like size instead of industry or part. So we can't do something like the size of the table, obviously, but we can work up to that, you know? So for now, we're kind of like parts that are a couple shoe boxes or smaller. Like,
what was the thesis for your pitch to have every person who works in manufacturing wear a pair of Meta glasses and start collecting data? Like, how would that actually flow through?
So I started a lot of my earlier career in like self-driving cars, right?
Sure.
I worked at Google 15 years ago doing this. It's actually insane. I don't even like thinking about that.
Were you like 15 years old?
Yeah, I was 10. I was wonderkin.
Yeah.
And a lot of the kind of like idea behind that is controlling a system well enough, right? Like a human would control a car. Same principles kind of apply to a factory, right? If you're producing the same thing over and over again, you can dial a factory like Elon does, right? And it's just like ultra efficient. The holy grail is being able to take a factory and kind of adapt to different things, over and over again. And mold making is kind of like that because every part has a unique geometry. So ultimately, the shape drives like the construction of every mold, and it's a little bit different, right? But ultimately,
actually pulling data from someone who's working on a line. I mean, you're going to see someone using a screwdriver one day and then a hammer and then different tools and then pushing buttons and maybe sitting in front of their computer, like taking notes. Like, isn't that just like a ton of messy data? Like, how do you actually compress that into something that's actionable?
So the self-driving analogy is very similar to that, right? Like being able to actually intuit like a mechanical task, right? Or I don't know, anything like programming a machine or something like that, right? If we have the ability to actually collect the data seamlessly and relatively easily, that's kind of a floodgate, to being able to do a lot of these things. Processing them is a different problem, depending on how general they get. But I do think that that's actually a pretty interesting use case for them.
Yeah. Give us the update on reindustrialization broadly.
There's been some headlines on the job side this year that have been not super thrilling to look at. Actually, reduction in manufacturing workforce, but what's actually
a lot of energy in the
what's
space,
the vibe? What's the vibe like on the ground?
The vibe on the ground,
actually, and to be clear, I want to get a sense of like what the vibe is, like legacy manufacturing, and then like the reindustrialized crowd.
No way. You got to take that.
I can't do that right now.
No, you can
take it.
Take it. Take it right now.
He'll call back.
That's actually, I mean, I don't know if you're fucking with us, but
I don't know if you're messing with us, but that's fine. It's crazy. Big if true.
Big if true. I mean, the vibe on the ground for this stuff is, it's interesting, right? Because there's a huge need for it, and like economic data, numbers go up and down all the time, and people will panic. Businesses might not actually take on more because CapEx is ultra expensive or something, right? At the end of the day, stuff still has to get made, right? And there's a lot of work that we're doing right now with the admin, which, maybe we'll talk about someday, but people are very aware of this problem, right? And we need to pump resources into the industrial base in a really meaningful and fast way. So ultimately, there's a huge demand and need. Even without the tariffs, it was still there, right? And I mean, starting this company when I did was a really interesting moment in history. And like, I was trying to front run that problem. And ultimately, I didn't really do anything for, 2020 at all. But I think people, they're actually churning out parts and components are, extremely happy with where things are at. But, overall, this is something that like we have the same conversation about over and over and over again, which is, factory jobs and manufacturing jobs. Like a lot of people don't know if that actually means a specialist, CNC machinist, a CAM programmer, like somebody just pushing a button on a machine on a line somewhere. And ultimately, you'll kind of see, a collapse, or you'll probably see, a little bit of condensing of skilled trade labor as like technology flows more into the industrial base, and we get more efficient factories that are cheaper. Ultimately, it's not a zero-sum game, right? It's like Jevons paradox for stuff. If you can figure out a way to make more, we're going to make more.
I feel like there's a ton of energy. Like the biggest American dynamism story, or the biggest reindustrialization story, has oddly been like the XAI, Colossus, like the Neo clouds, what Crusoe's doing. Like it feels like there's an immense pull from the industry to build big things, and they're building multi-billion-dollar projects in America. It's very much assembling parts from all over the place. We just got a report that Elon's potentially buying a power plant internationally and then just rebuilding it in Memphis or Mississippi. But do you think that actually translates to going down the stack? Or do you think that like all the AI energy will just wind up resulting in just build a big data center, but still continue to make the transformers wherever they need to be made, or make the the networking equipment wherever it needs to be made? I mean, the chips, like the actual energy around moving chip production back to America, it's a multi-decade project.
Yeah, I think there's like a secret plan here that nobody's really talking about. Which
What's that?
You've seen Elon and like Jensen hint at this, right? In some of their public stuff that they've said. They're all driving for applying AI to like the physical.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have to play with LLMs for a little bit and like cool video and image tools and stuff. But ultimately, I think that like we saw, what was that, like a week ago, Elon talking about making transformers now, like just going straight for the kill. I think that ultimately, and like how Jensen talked about, like.
I mean, SpaceX vertically integrated a ton of part making internally because they were fed up. But what does that mean for your business?
Right. So ultimately, what it means is that like you're going to have a trade-off where skilled tradespeople are kind of like the replacement rate is very low. So you might actually see some kind of like conglomeration or agglomeration of these trades, kind of forming like a foundational layer of building blocks where we can make components and parts, and the technology is applied to that, right? Like that's what I was saying. Like Jensen, his whole thing is like using tokens for whatever, right?
Sure.
If we can apply that to the part making layer, right? It's just foundational kind of stuff, and then from there you can build whatever you want.
Yeah. Are there? I remember early on when we were talking, one of the interesting use cases for AI in a manufacturing context was you have a part that needs to be injection molded. You need to build the casting for that, right? And you need to figure out where you drill the holes to dissipate heat, right? And the example you gave me was like if you're molding a bumper for a car. It's a very odd shape. It's not just like something you can roll out on a sheet or cut stamp or do anything else, right? You need to actually mold it. And it does that have any indexing towards like what goes on in the data center? Like what are there parts that are benefiting in the data center context from that type of like injection molding optimization work?
Potentially. I mean, it's going to be a lot of like racking and componentry, right?
Yeah.
So if there's some kind of weird new, form factor, but probably not. But
most of the data center just feels like it's like vertical racks and just bolted together. Very like, I mean, Zuck's building data centers in tents now. Like they're not going with like bespoke, like beautiful, like custom shapes or anything like that.
I think a lot of it, like whenever you need to form a part of some kind, right? You have to pick what type of methodology you're going to use, like whatever is most cost effective, and also meets the requirements. So if it's a bunch of metal stuff, you're probably going to stamp it, or it'll be made out of sheet metal or CNC'd or something. And then if it is a plastic thing that you can actually blast out in high volume and it's actually worth it, that's a great problem to solve, right? And what we're doing is actually trying to lower that barrier. And not everything can be a plastic part, and people don't want that. But if you actually lower that barrier, then engineering changes actually, because now you can actually rescope what is plastic, what is metal, and consider a different production method for it.
How are the capital markets treating manufacturing businesses, and especially tech-enabled manufacturing businesses today?
So
I'm assuming you're not getting AI multiples, but hopefully there's plenty to go around.
Well, that's the thing. It's like there's no comp for this, right? Nobody's actually done this before. So, TBD on that. But I do think that even like announcing the raise earlier, right, was a huge mistake on LinkedIn. Just because I now have gotten probably 100 different emails and texts from people on the other side of venture. Yeah. They're just like loans. It's just like it's a wellspring of money. There's an ocean of capital on the other side of this if you can prove something viable.
Where's the business? I mean, you said $25 million Series A, massive facility that you showed us. How are you tracking with like revenue, headcount, anything else that you can share?
Yeah. So with that kind of progression of going like software to mold making to part making, we picked up like our first couple big, part production contracts. So interestingly enough, it's kind of like SaaS. It's just like, I need a widget for 5 years. Like you're in charge of making the mold and the part now. So we're going to start stacking like multi-year production programs. So we're kind of in the mid 8-figure range for that right now.
Let's go.
And
let's give it up for the mid 8 figures. It's an amazing place to be. Underrated, right? People already always talk about 9 figures, 7 figures, being in the mid 8 figures.
The next time I'm back here, we'll be at 9 figures. So
fantastic.
There we go.
And then we're kind of
come back tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow.
Answer that phone call and then
roughly 50 people right now.
Oh wow!
And it's interesting too because
that
includes people that are like in the factories themselves, like
everyone.
helping.
Right? Yeah. I mean, this is one of the main reasons we actually wanted to build in Detroit, right? Because even though I love California, that talent is not here.
Yeah.
So we do have to kind of like rely on that initially to build out the footprint there, and then once we actually have.
Would you come to California?
Yeah. For sure.
But is California anywhere near the top of the list? I feel like Texas, there's other, what's happening in Memphis and in Mississippi, like there's so many other states that are more like, please bring your business here.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to take a look at statewide, incentive packages and see how that's looking. But that's kind of the model, right? Is like
Does California offer incentives for these kind of things? Or they
disincentives,
like,
disincentives. Yeah.
If you come here, we'll make your life hell, but the weather's great. I was so funny. I was looking at the weather report yesterday, and I was like, this is why we do what we do. 75 today in Malibu, 75 and sunny, then 78 and sunny, then 77 and sunny, then 79 and sunny. And 79, and then 79, and then 77.
I'm sure it's not that bad in Detroit right now. It's
actually
summer. It's probably
same
perfect.
exact forecast.
Yeah, it's probably perfect.
Everybody
right
talks
now.
about
Just don't talk about
fall
winter.
in California. People don't talk about fall in Detroit.
Fall in Detroit. I mean, in Chicago, it's the same thing. Chicago has fantastic summers.
Yes,
it's
nice
the
and windy.
People call Detroit the Saint Tropez of America.
It is. It is. Anyway, congratulations. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Dude, thank you for the
Hit that
merch.
gong
hit that as hard as you can. Blow
that was a good
hit. You kept it in. That's a true test of strength. Being close to the gong and still getting that contact. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on
about all the progress. Go take that call.
We will talk to you soon. And we have
Good
Ariana coming on the show in just a few minutes. In the meantime, let me tell you about 8 Sleep. 8sleep.com. Get a Pod 5, 5-year warranty, 30-day risk-free trial, free returns, free shipping.
What did I do?
You did well?
I got a 94 last night, 7 hours, 56 minutes.
A 94, eh? 94. 98. 98.
I was not expecting
98. Put that phone down. I beat Jordy Hayes.
The great sleep off.
Yes.
We should run a weekend, weekend average. See how we do.
Sleep off. Anyway, there's a new paper that claims LLMs are better at selecting founders than venture capitalists. Someone introduced VC Bench, the first benchmark for predicting for founder success in venture capital. This is from the University of Oxford, and Julia Hornstein shares thinking about this quote. But for Andreessen, there is one job that AI will never do as well as living, breathing human being. Think I'm kidding? On an A16Z podcast last week, Andreessen opined that being a venture capitalist may be a profession that is quite literally timeless. When the AIs are doing everything else, he continued, that may be one of the last remaining fields that people are still doing. Did Vlad say something too? Like, you could just post singularity, you just invest for a living?
I agree with the sense that the high level point, which is that like humans will raise capital.
Yeah.
Machines will probably deploy it.
Yes.
But I do wonder. I would love to. We should dig into this VC bench thing more, because I do think if I just you could basically run a model against like a deck.
Yes.
And you can even analyze things like how fast a founder responds, right?
I would love
people talk about some of these like smaller data points, like founders that respond fast, generally outperform.
Outperforming I mean, I'm not exactly sure what the outperformance was, but being in the 60th percentile of venture capitalists does not matter. Like, you still do very poorly. Like, you need to be at the long tail of the power law. I'd be fascinated to know.
Brand is like one of the biggest drivers of that.
Brand's super important, but also I think, I mean, you read 0 to 1, the value of secrets. Like, secrets are not in the training data. And so there's so many decisions that are made in a business partnership or backing a founder that are secrets that never make their way onto the internet. They never make it into the weights whatsoever. Maybe they make it into a biography after someone passes away, like decades later. But so much of decision in venture capital and decision making in business is really on the backbone of whisper networks and understanding,
being able to accurately predict the future.
Subtext. It's not just accurately predicting the future. I feel like accurately predicting the future, like broadly, like AI is not that bad at that, but AI doesn't necessarily know like all the different secrets that are going into a business.
But if you were running, let's say you were running a model generally, and you asked in 2017, do you think that bright young people in Silicon Valley are going to want to work in defense tech in 7 years? A model might be like, people have like pretty bad taste in their mouth, like Google engineers are protesting even having any contracts, right? Yeah. So it just depends on.
I mean, the LLMs right now are not designed to be contrarian machines. Like they're very much consensus focused, and just getting to a model that thinks independently or can take a contrarian position that isn't just take your conclusion and add a minus sign in front of it.
It's like, what if the average Redditor was deploying capital?
That's certainly the bear case for this. At the same time, potentially like the average Redditor is deploying capital, and that might actually define the VC industry pretty accurately right now. And so I'm not surprised. John. Tyler, what's your take?
Okay, so I'm looking at the actual benchmark.
Yes.
So basically,
what
how it works, so there's 9,000. The data set is 9,000 anonymized founder profiles, and then basically they're either labeled like success or I guess like failure, depending on
do they return capital or something?
Yeah, if they exited, IPO'd over 500 million or raised over 500 million, and then so it has like some of the stats are like tier 1 VCs are at predict 23%. And then DeepSeek chat is at 80%.
That's a huge delta.
So it's kind of like, it seems hard to like anonymize these correctly, where like you're still encapsulating like what made them a good founder, but also still like different enough that a model can't just like be like, oh, that's just Mark Zuckerberg. Without his name.
Totally.
So like, yes, he's successful.
Yes,
so
yes.
I think it's
the other thing is like VC is the issue is like VC is not about identifying the great founders. You have to identify them and win allocation at specific moments.
100% that, and then also it's identifying the next great founder, which is usually breaking a pattern. I mean, Paul Graham has that famous example where he over-indexed on Mark Zuckerberg, met a founder who literally looked like Mark Zuckerberg, wrote a check, and it was one of the most underperforming investments he's ever made. And he was like, I was just like, this guy's like,
all right, well, we
went to Harvard, dropped out of Harvard, looked like Mark.
We have Ariana in the Restream waiting room. Let's bring her in.
Let's bring her in to TBPN.
Mold Company.
The Ultradome. How you doing?
What's happening?
Hi, Jordy. Hi, John. Great to be here.
Great to meet you. Okay, I will start this off by saying I
hate mold.
I hate mold. I'm one of the number one haters. I had a rental once that had a mold problem. I got terribly sick, and it ended up being this crazy saga where I was like fighting with my landlord because they were saying like there's no mold problem. I was showing them test results that showed there was a mold problem. They were kind of pushing back. I think it's a huge problem. I went down this rabbit hole. I think a bunch of people are kind of like waking up to how prevalent the issue is, especially in like specific regions and even specific like local communities. So excited that you're building this and excited to hear about it.
Thank you. Yeah, there's definitely a cultural awakening happening. You might have even seen HBO shows and Netflix and throughout the Reddit forums, Facebook communities, influencers on Instagram, et cetera. Like it feels like there's this groundswell of education and awareness happening beyond even our company.
Yeah. Why did you start the company? Personal story?
Yeah, super similar to yours. Went through that journey with my landlord as well. And prior to starting MoldCo, didn't have health issues, then experienced debilitating symptoms and actually developed something called chronic inflammatory response syndrome, which is the more formal name for mold toxicity or mold-related illness, just in a 6.5-month time frame of being in my Miami unit, which was quite moldy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What is the? I have an easy to tell what the company does at a high level, but like, how are you kind of like tackling the problem? What does the business look like?
Yeah, we're tackling this in a few different ways. So the vision is to drive the standard of care for mold treatment and mold labs. And what we do is offer labs both for health and the environment. So that includes 4 different tests available on our website today, specifically a 3-panel and a 16-panel for the LabCorp Lab Draw. And that's based on our 30 years of research in the field. So we have on our founding team the world experts, the folks that not only pioneered the space, but also defined chronic inflammatory response syndrome, came up with the biomarkers, came up with the treatment all in their lifetime, which is an extraordinary effort. So we have that. We also have something called HLA haplotype testing to see if you have a genetic susceptibility to mold-related illness, and that impacts 1 in 4 here in the US. And we also have a dust test, which I frankly love over even a home inspector at times. It's just a quick litmus test, low cost, use a Swiffer pad to wipe down your surfaces. So we have that on the lab side. And then on the care side, we have our own in-house providers, and we built a platform to treat patients at scale. And that includes concierge care in our patient portal, and that includes a distillation of something called the Shoemaker Protocol, which is the only published peer-reviewed treatment approach in the space. There's hundreds of publications making the mold health connection. There's really just a small body of work that demonstrates treatment and what's effective for patients. So that's what we've done. We've translated that into a virtual care clinic, and we've done a lot of creative things to make that scalable for patients so we can keep the costs low and affordable.
What if somebody, I guess, like, what is your recommendation? You meet somebody like randomly, they hear about your business, like, what is the first step? Because I think a lot of people, you talked about people having like genetic susceptibility. This is, I think, important because it means that like a few people could be living in a house and like some people aren't having necessarily any issues or symptoms, and like one person could be having a super adverse reaction, and that I feel like can make people like just like not really be aware of the problem. Because if somebody's in college and they have some roommates that are doing fine and they're struggling, it can end up being confusing. But what do you recommend to people? Where do you recommend people start if they're kind of concerned that they might be dealing with an issue?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have testing options to meet patients where they are. So it really just depends on where they are in that journey. And you touched upon a really important topic, and that's the canary effect. There could be others in your household that start experiencing symptoms before you even experience symptoms. But it really just depends on where the patient is. Have they already made the mold health connection? Have they conducted a battery of lab tests to validate that? If so, those patients are often great to start care. If the patient hasn't even made the mold health connection, but they're sure that there's mold in their home, they can probably skip the dust test, and even a visual inspection or having that musty, earthy odor is sufficient. So for that type of patient, we may recommend even the starter panel, which is one of our 3 lab panels, and that has the highest signal biomarkers based on the research that we have to date, which I'm sure will evolve. We actually have an R&D arm with the largest data set in the world for what we're doing too. So we're looking to advance that and really drive the standard of care. Or if a patient doesn't know if they have mold in their home, but they're having the indicative symptoms, which includes brain fog, fatigue, gastrointestinal issues, et cetera, it's normally a multi-symptom issue, non-specific, but affecting multiple systems, then we would recommend a lab panel, such as the starter panel or a complete panel. The HLA.
Do you guys help? Would you guys help like clients, customers with like legal? Because I ended up having to hire a lawyer when I was going through my issue because my landlord was just like completely just like basically like gaslighting me. Not is that something that you guys would ever help people with, or is that outside of kind of the wheelhouse?
It's currently outside our scope. In terms of the next evolution of the company, the parent company is actually called the ImmuneCo, and our vision is to spin out LymeCo and LongCo next. Our thesis is that the data set we've collected, which is looking at these microbial insults, mold, and biotoxins that lead to innate immune system dysregulation leading to chronic inflammation, can actually have the underlying research to help solve some of these other biotoxin related issues. So we're more so going that direction versus expanding too horizontally within the mold economy. But I think there's definitely opportunity there for founders.
The mold economy. We're here. How are you guys acquiring customers at this point? Is this feels like the kind of thing that one, there's a lot of influencers that have dealt with this and that'll talk about it, but also feels like you could have an organic TikTok or Reel strategy or something along those lines.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of different things. We actually just launched something called a content farm. We had 7 million views in the last week or week and a half or so just off of that. So we are tapping into TikTok and Instagram and doing some fun things there. We had a Reddit AMA with Dr. Shoemaker, the Messiah of Mold, our founding physician, and that went viral in Reddit.
Messiah of Mold.
Yeah.
You got some good coinages here. The mold economy, the Messiah of Mold.
Thanks. I don't have bots on my cap table though, so maybe that's next. But yeah, so we've done that. We've had shout outs from patients. At least 15% of our patient base is based on referrals, and we haven't even optimized for that yet. I've been on at least 30 podcasts at this point. So we're tapping into a lot of different ways to reach patients and increase education and awareness. But there already is a large portion of the US that has made the Mold Health connection. So it's been pretty streamlined targeting those patients and onboarding them into our care.
Would you do anything? Last question I have, I'm curious, would you do anything around helping people make decisions on like specifically the moment in time where somebody's either buying a home or considering renting a property? Because the thing that's like tragic about like kind of the mold crisis, if that's what you want to call it, is there's a lot of homes that are brand new and they will literally have like a significant mold toxicity problem on day one because of the way they were built. Or you think about it, it's like houses can take a long time to build. They could have leaks, they could have a bunch of weather, all these different things, and then you move into a house that you think is brand new and it already is going to like make you sick, which is just tragic.
Thank you for touching on that misconception that new builds don't have mold issues. They definitely do. The building materials are left outside in the rain. The energy efficiency standards often have a trade-off for having more microbial growth in the home. So I think there's a lot of dramatic irony there for home buyers and renters. It's not something we're targeting at a deep level right now. I often say that the environmental side is more intractable than the healthcare side, just because the healthcare side already has the solution available. And every home is unique, every rental is unique. So we offer free educational guidance, but I think that's also another opportunity for a builder in this space if they want to help essentially renters and owners better navigate which homes have mold and to avoid that. And there's also novel materials coming out like Firewall too to prevent mold in the first place.
Awesome. Well, congratulations.
Give us the fundraising news.
What's the fundraising news? You announced it yesterday, right?
Yeah. So we raised earlier this year a bit of a delayed announcement with Cantos and Collab Fund as our lead. And there we go.
How much did you raise?
8 million total.
There you go. Congratulations.
Let's go. Congratulations.
Great names. Love to see it.
Thanks so much for helping on the stream.
Thanks for jumping on.
We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Guys, bye.
If you want to get away from your moldy old home, head over to wander.com.
That's right.
Book a Wander with inspiring views, hotel great amenities, dreamy beds, top tier cleaning, and 24/7 concierge service. It's a vacation home, but better, folks.
Better.
Our next guest is Will Hurd from Chaos Industries. He's the chief strategy officer, former CIA, former congressperson. Welcome to the
What's going
stream.
on?
How you doing?
Hey, doing fantastic. It's great to be on with y'all. I feel like I'm on with the Shaq and Barkley of tech reporting. So thanks for having me.
We'd love to hear that. Thank you.
Let's go. We
fact.
don't know about sports, but those sound like some big names.
Fun fact. I endorsed you for president. I said, everyone else who's running is a lawyer. You're the only computer scientist. Talk to me about your journey studying computer science through working in the government. I want to get a little bit of backstory before we go into what you're doing now.
Sure. It was funny when I was in high school. I had the opportunity to do an internship with a woman who was at Southwest Research Institute. They are one of the largest private research entities in the country. And I fell in love with computer science and decided to go to Texas A&M University, Gig'em Aggies, and study computer science. You know, and when I first got to college, I thought I was going to go work at IBM. And then
let's give it up for
international business machines. We love international business and machines.
There we go. There we go. But I had this guy who was a guest lecturer in one of my classes that was a former CIA officer.
Yeah.
And he told the most amazing stories. And I was like, I want to do that. Cool. And so when I graduated from college, I joined the CIA, and I was a case officer, so my job was to recruit spies and steal secrets. It was the best job.
Yeah, and that's an important.
Thank you for
that's
your
an important
service.
distinction, because I think people think about CIA agents, but those are the people that are recruited by the case officers who are doing the puppeteering. Right?
That's right, or you could say the spy master.
Yeah, the spy master. Spy master.
That's great. Please.
It was an awesome gig, right? Yeah. 2 years India, 2 years in Pakistan. Wow. I did some interagency work in New York City around counter-proliferation, and then a year and a half in Afghanistan, where I managed all of our undercover operations. And in addition to collecting intelligence on our threats to our homelands, I had to brief members of Congress. And I was pretty shocked by the caliber of our elected leaders, so I decided to run for Congress. And that's kind of how that started.
That's amazing. We had Dan Wang on the show recently. He wrote a book, Relentless, and he talks about I hope I have that right. I might be messing some of that up. But the basic thesis of the book is that China has an engineering mindset, and they employ a lot of engineers in the government, whereas America has become the lawyerly society. And we have a lot of lawmakers who are lawyers by training. And I'm wondering about your thoughts on the direction America should be going in terms of empowering folks who can think from first principles or have engineering mindsets to actually go and build things like high-speed rail, or, we got to the moon, and we're seeing a little bit of this with Doge and more engineers in the White House. What's your overall view on the level of engineering talent in government and the benefits and costs of that?
Look, I think that thesis is actually correct. I've spent the last 25 years of my adult life in some form or fashion connected to national security, whether it was CIA, in Congress. I was on the House Intelligence Committee, seeing how our threats to our nation evolve. I was on the Appropriations Committee, making sure that we were spending trillions of dollars in the right way. I've been on the National Security Agency advisory board. When I was at Allen & Company, the New York investment bank, I was working with technology companies. And here's been one similar throughput through all this. The Chinese government has made it very clear. The way they're going to surpass the United States of America as the global superpower is by mastering a number of different technologies. It's about 15, 16, 17 of them, everything from AI to hypersonics. And with that as the overarching goal, there is a desire and interest in order to win. Let's look. You mentioned the space race. Right now, we're rushing to go back to the moon. Yeah. And guess what the Chinese are going to do? The Chinese are going to do it the exact same way we did it in the past, right? Yeah. Shocker, they're going to steal all of our plans and ideas and replicate them.
What?
Crazy,
I'm hearing
crazy
this
notion.
For the first time.
Yeah, exactly. But we're also seeing that in whether it's AI and how they're trying to dominate it. We saw them dominate 5G. Fact that the 5G infrastructure now is, I think it's over a third in the world is Chinese tech. Yeah. In AI, the issue of AI, they're trying to make sure by 2030 every 6-year-old is AI conversant. Wow. And we're still having debates here in the United States of America about whether AI should be included. And then I don't even tell you about what's happening on the battlefield, right? We're seeing they're learning from Ukraine. They're figuring out how to use autonomy in air, on land and in the sea. They're focused on electronic warfare and how to disrupt our systems. They're trying to not only build more than what we have, they're also looking forward to making sure that they have mass and autonomy in warfare. And so this is the world in which we're living in, and we need people that actually understand technology to make sure that we can make it happen. Like, perfect example. No company cannot figure out, they don't know that what their budget's going to be next year or what their plans for sales is next year. But within the federal government, we don't know necessarily from year to year what the funding is going to be. And for $1 trillion enterprise, you can't do that. I think at a minimum, you should have a 2-year budget and appropriation so that you can, with some certainty of where you need to go and not trying to go month to month to try to get things done. And I think that's right now one of the issues that I think a lot of venture capital and venture VC-backed companies are trying to change with DoD. It's slow, it's moving, it's changing, but we have to bring that mentality to government.
Yeah, talk about your path to chaos. It's a wild name for a defense tech company, but you're doing some very cool things. How did all this come together?
Look, I didn't think slinging radars was on my bingo card, right? But when I got to meet Dr. Bo Marr, one of our co-CEOs and founders of Chaos, he had also previously founded Epirus. John Tennant, another one of our co-CEOs who I've known for some time, and he's like, "Look, Will, we're doing something interesting. Why don't you come to LA and see our product?" And I was blown away, right? First off, unbelievable team, right? These are engineers that have been quoted in Nobel Prizes, right? You have real operators in government, Navy SEALs, folks that worked in Delta Force, CIA. You have operators that have been in the system, and you're working on some of the most cutting edge technology, right? Like we have figured out a thing called coherent distributed networking. This is taking multiple things and talking to each other, and we figured out how to do that to the picosecond. Now, a picosecond, for some references, 1 picosecond to a second is like a second is to 32,000 years. That's really fast. Whoa. And by figuring out how you have this time transfer work, we're able to build a more powerful system and a cheaper system. And so that amazed me, and ultimately the vision of the company, right? Since, let's call it the end of the Korean War, right? America and our allies have had air superiority. And that air superiority has given our troops the ability to look forward, not above their heads at swarms. It's allowed commerce to whip around the world, and those days are over, right? Because of autonomy on the battlefield. 70% of casualties in warfare right now are from autonomous systems and drones. And the time to detect and do something about it is shrinking. And ultimately what Chaos is doing is we're giving the warfighter more time, time to understand what's happening, time to decide what to do, and time to act. And so for me to get back to my roots of national security, it was exciting. And so that's how I ended up at Chaos.
What's the highest priority threat that radar can help mitigate? Is it these autonomous drones these days?
It is. Look, there's a lot of conversation right now around Golden Dome, and Golden Dome is something that we need to have. We need to be able to defend against nuclear-tipped intercontinental ballistic missiles, right, from our adversaries, primarily China, Russia, and Iran, and North Korea. And this is a phased approach from detecting it when it launches from their homeland to trying to identify it in space. The technology that has evolved and what we're able to do now, sensing in space, is pretty fantastic. And this is an important problem. But the reality the most recent threat, like the threat we're most likely to see, is a subsonic cruise missile or a drone. And this can be shot from a plane off the coast of California. It could be a van that is filled with a number of explosive drones. These are the things that we're going to see more likely than a nuclear weapon. And we call these underlayer threats. These are things that are happening under 50,000 feet. And that's something that radars is able to help detect. And one of the things that we're learning, because of some of the technological advances we've made, we can see big, high and far, and low, small and near at the same time. And I always remind people, I think pretty much everybody in America watched Maverick, Top Gun 2.
Top Gun,
right?
Of course.
That's a real thing. Flying below the radar is a real thing. And so we're able to see below that level. And that's something that is going to be helpful against this drone threat, which we've already seen. We've seen what the Ukrainians did in Russia. We've seen what Israel has done in Iran. And all of that being able to take out this exquisite infrastructure, right? And exquisite is actually has a unique phrasing or definition in government. That means big ass expensive system. Pardon my language. And so you're able to take these systems out with a system that costs $1 billion with a drone that costs $20K. Right, so that cost asymmetry is one of the things that the right radar and what we're doing in multi-static radar is something that is one of the reasons why we're getting traction and excitement within DoD and the rest of militaries around the world. To be honest,
I don't know if you can say anything here, but are you guys doing anything on the counter narcotics side?
Yeah, we've been seeing some stuff here.
I've watched a bunch of YouTube videos on narco subs that aren't true submarines, but designed to be hard to detect.
Look, this is an issue that's actually close to my heart. When I was in Congress, I represented a district that was 29 counties, 2 time zones, 825 miles of the border between Texas and Mexico. I had more border than any other member of Congress. Wow. And so what the narcotraficantes, the drug traffickers are doing, they're sophisticated. The narcos in Mexico alone are making roughly, and this is a conservative number, $60 billion in 1 year.
Wow.
The entire U.S. intelligence budget is $60 billion, right?
Yeah.
And so
you add up all the foundation model lab revenue, and you don't get anything.
You don't get there. It's bigger than AI.
Yeah, no, look, it's wild, and so yes, it is known. In the end of last year, I think beginning of this year, Border Patrol testified in front of the Senate that there were something ridiculous like 41,000 drone sightings in just one sector of the border. So we know the narcos are using the drone warfare against themselves. Right. And so
like against rival
gangs, basically.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's like the drone warfare you're seeing between Ukraine and Russia.
Wow.
They're adapting some of these tactics, techniques, and procedures to that fight. And then we also know the only way you get $60 billion worth of drugs into the United States of America is by you bringing them in volume. And there is likely some coming via autonomous systems, air and sea, and we've had conversations with authorities in order to help with this project. And so once we learn more, we'll come back and I'll give you a report on some of the things that we're seeing.
Can you give me some describe the shape or the physicality of what you're building? There's been, you look at those like Anduril submarines, they're square now. They look like they just fit in shipping containers. There's a lot of logistics that you get out of the box. If it fits in a shipping container, you can load it onto a boat, an autonomous boat. You can load it on a truck. There's also stuff that can be mounted on an aircraft or something that's, getting into exquisite system territory. Where do you see the opportunity to deploy new radar systems?
So one of our products we call Vanquish is an expeditionary system. Mm-hmm. So the three of us can carry that. Okay. It can fit on the back of an ATV and go into really rough terrain.
Is that an invite? Are we going ATVing? Let's do it.
Hey, I think we're just right around the corner from y'all. So,
amazing.
So next time we'll take y'all out.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So that one is low form factors, small, that can be deployed in difficult environments. Sure. We have another system called Astria, which we were just celebrating. We had a major finance award from the U.S. Air Force about this product that we're deploying in Eglin Air Force Base in Florida.
How much was that deal for? We like to ring the gong around here for big numbers.
There we go. Hit it.
How much was it?
2 million.
Boom!
Congratulations.
Wait,
one more gong. We got one more gong.
We got one more. Give it to us.
The House of Representatives put in 10 million in the defense bill.
There we go.
Congratulations.
There we go. I love it. I love
to see it.
We like to celebrate big contracts around here. What else are you or defense tech companies or the United States government focused on in terms of actual deployment? There's been a lot of talk about the Ukraine war. It's been going on for a long time. Very sad. It's unfortunately become a serious business for many companies. There's also Anduril announced a $1 billion deal with Australia. There's deals going on in Taiwan, obviously in the Middle East. Where else in the geopolitical realm should founders be thinking about understanding the nature of the changing warfighter and the changing battlefield, and then building solutions for?
Look, if you're a defense tech company and you have an operator or aren't operating in Ukraine, that's going to be a problem. If you're investing in companies, if I'm going to be an investor in a defense tech company, my first question is, does your stuff work, and has it worked in Ukraine in one of the most difficult environments on the planet right now? And that environment is going to make the first island chain, if we get into a conflict with the Chinese, look like a playground, by the way. And so we've been in Ukraine. We've been tested against the electronic warfare systems of the Russians. The Ukrainians have asked us to come back. We're working on being able to do that. We were deployed in the Middle East during the 12-day war. We saw Shahed drones going back and forth between Israel and Iran. So we've been deployed there. Of course, the potential for geopolitical conflict in the Indo-Pacific is an important place where we're having conversations to be able to deploy against there. So we've been
how quickly can you guys set up in a new region, right? Because like CENTCOM has been quieter, but feels like that could bubble up again at any point.
Look, so our system deployed, once it comes off the truck, we can put it up in about 15 minutes, right? And so doing that is but changing the flow within the U.S. government. Look, the value of a company like Chaos, when we have basically $500 million in our bank account from all of our raises, is we're able to operate in these long sales cycles or potential changes within the federal government. And so part of us is just understanding where the threat is, making sure we're deploying. And one of the reasons we're kind of, been a little bit more active in the public is that our stuff works and we've been deployed and it's operating. We have a year of consistent deployment in really tough places. And so that's one of the things that's important for us. And we're going to go wherever the warfighter needs us.
You're building a sensor. There are other companies building effectors. There are companies that want to integrate sensors and effectors. I'm thinking of Palantir. I'm thinking of Lattice from Anduril. Sure. Are those out-of-the-box integrations? Are those partnerships that you're talking to? Obviously, you're super close with a lot of those folks. What does building a product that integrates with everything else? Because I can't imagine that you're saying, on day one, we want to, we want to be the only defense tech company. No, you're part of the ecosystem. You're building, one solution. How do you think about integrating with the rest of the ecosystem?
Part of this and what the U.S. government needs and wants is completing the kill chain, right? So you can sense and do the effector. And one of the areas, Holy Grail may be too strong of a word, but getting to an effector that's cheap. right? Or inexpensive is the word I should use.
Yeah.
And so that integration is important. And so we've already demonstrated ability to integrate with our friends at Anduril. Look, Palmer and I go way back. When I was in Congress, I was talking about having a smart wall, right?
Yeah.
And I get this phone call from some dude named Palmer Luckey, and I'm like, he's like, I got your smart wall, and that began a relationship and helping and those guys. Again, same with Palantir, right? I've seen Palantir for a really long time, even back to my days when I was in the CIA. So our ability to integrate and work together, and the unique thing about some of the technology that we're working on, this cutting edge stuff, is it actually can potentially be a force a multiplier for other systems as well. And so the name of the game is to be able to integrate and make sure that we fit into the command and control infrastructure, and ultimately our sensor can make every effector better. So this is exploring those areas as we explore the kill chain and all of our suite of products, making sure that again, at the end of the day, we see farther. Yeah. Right, we see farther than everybody else, and we give that warfighter more time. And when you have more time, then you can decide, wait a minute, which tool in my toolkit do I want to use in order to deal with this threat? And the more time you have, the better it is. And when you have bombs dropping on your head and people shooting at you, even if it's 5 to 10 more minutes, that's an eternity. And to be able to give that time back to the warfighter is what we're focused on.
What's it like for people that are starting their career on the public sector side, whether it's intelligence or something like down at the border? Like, do they have a feeling that they have, like, the tools are great, or are they still, or is the sense if you're actually the one needing to operate and use these tools that they can and should be a lot better?
Look, it depends on which entity you're talking about. An organization like the CIA, which is geared towards helping the pointing end of the spear, whether that's the case officer that's collecting the information or the person doing a covert operation, there is a belief in that. You have entities like In-Q-Tel, which is focused on bringing in new technologies in to help the warfighter. When you look at some of the special forces units that are really good at adapting and making sure our boys and girls in those units have what it needs, but it's not uniform. Yeah. And we always talk about how the procurement cycles of getting the right thing in the right hands matters. And here's where some startups that are VC based or coming out of Silicon Valley, don't get wrong. Like, we talk about these long cycles, but guess what? The stuff has to work out of the box when it comes to getting in the hands of our military. It has to work every time. And so the training and evaluation matters, and that's what adds to some of that time of getting those equipment, and it has to work within our system. So I think if you talk to someone on the border or first in their early in their career, they may be frustrated with the lack of some of the tools, but some of the problems is that tool has to be tested, and it has to have the cybersecurity to defend against the Chinese government.
Well said.
Talk to me about the path to program of record. You have this radar contract, more money coming from the House approval. The typical story that I hear from a lot of defense tech startups is they get a SBIR and then they sprint towards program of record. Obviously, over the long term, you want that durability of revenue that you can underwrite a massive manufacturing facility, so you can be making this and improving it every year. What does the future of the company look like for you?
Well, look, all those things are true, and we're far down. We've engaged with all of the branches on this. We're at certain levels of the buying process. It starts with a user wanting your thing. Yeah. And if you have users wanting your thing, then it makes it a lot easier in order to connect the dots and
put the thing in the bag.
Money that you need, right? And so, look, I use the Anduril example. When they did their first border technology, that was a $10 million appropriation in the budget, right? That led to one of their first program record. And so that's an example of how you get it. If you have a product that works, If you have a product that is doing something unique and you have a user wanting it, then and you've demonstrated that capability in the most the difficult environments to operate, then guess what? Finding that path to program a record is not as difficult. And again, I'm not trying to act like it's easy. It's not. But being able to line up all of those things is something that we have experience with.
Yes. Well, congratulations! Thanks so much for coming.
This was super
fun.
The chat
loves you.
Saying,
everyone's going crazy.
They're saying Will Hurd's my dog.
Yes.
So,
People are big
thank you for
fans.
joining.
Thank
come
you so
come
much.
back on when you have more news, or if
anytime.
there's something in the world happening that you want to chat about.
Would love to do that. Thanks, fellas. I really appreciate y'all.
We'll talk to you. Have a great weekend. Let me tell you about AdQuick.com, out-of-home advertising made easy and measurable. Say goodbye to the headaches of out-of-home advertising. Only AdQuick combines technology, out-of-home expertise, and data to enable efficient, seamless ad buying across the globe.
Well,
we have our second in-person
do.
guest. Welcome to the stream. Looking good in the suit. Our second guest. Thanks so much for joining. Oh, fantastic. We love hats here.
I'm throwing it on.
We got our second guest. Introduce yourself for the stream for those who don't know.
$350 million man.
Hello, how's it going? I'm Sam, co-founder, CEO of Numeral.
Which you know, of course, because
which you know and love.
We have been partnered with Numeral for a number of months now. Kick us off with the news of the day.
The news of the day is we've raised $35 million on a 350 post.
Congratulations.
Do the honor.
Take this, hit that gong as hard as you can.
Subtle, but firm.
Not too hard.
Coming off Series A from Benchmark as well. Was that earlier?
Exactly. We did
year?
a Series A from Benchmark earlier this year, and so just following on there to capitalize on all the momentum.
Who did the Series
B? Keep people down. We did it with Mayfield.
So classic fun.
Got a classic fun. Got to keep it old school.
Been in the business for generations, for decades. We got to update Jordy's ad read for probably the first 50 ad reads. He was a Benchmark Series A. We had a lot of fun.
Don't forget
Mayfield.
Don't forget YC as well.
YC, love it.
When did you do YC?
We did YC beginning of 2023.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was actually working with my old boss at Airbnb, Gustav, so it was fun to get to work with him again.
Yeah. No way. What? When did you know you wanted to automate sales tax?
Oh man, since the womb actually. I've been dreaming about it. No, for me, I was similarly as you guys, like actually running e-commerce businesses. Yeah. Still own a vitamin gummy shop, doing 10 plus million a year.
Amazing.
And so,
what is it about gummies that just sell better than any product on?
People love gummies. They don't want to.
It's the best e-commerce business because you get that repeatability. It's easy to predict. You take 2 a day, and I think people don't like pills. They love Americans. We love sweets. We love candies. So
little treat.
That's great. So you discovered the problem through that business.
Exactly. So my my co-founder there and I of the gummy business, we were just dealing with sales tax compliance for all. We had to register in 40 plus states, and so I was dealing with local parishes in Louisiana and like on the phone with some woman in West Virginia, and I got like an argument about penalty waivers, and I'm like, this is insane that I'm trying to spend my time on growth and marketing or product and things like that, and instead I was wasting like hours just dealing with the IRS compared to these states is like working with Apple or like Google or some like amazing company, like Department of Revenue, Alabama, like give them a call, and it's insane. And so I think the thesis was you've had these incumbent tools that have been around for 20 plus years. Yeah. The most famous one is this one called Avalara, and the problem with them is it's like kind of this very narrow tool, and you have to spend hours a month dealing with them. So you get physical mail from the states, and then you have to figure out what to do with it, how to call the state, and they won't even pick up they're owned by private equity, so they don't even pick up the phone when you have an issue. So for us, it's we're not really trying, it's software, but we really, if you're a customer, we really want it to feel like service more than software, because with AI, since we invented AGI, we're using
sales tax
AGI, right? And so with AI, you can deliver what feels more like a service, but fundamentally it's still a software business.
Yeah, what was the fundraising process like? I want to know. Just take the temperature of like you just went out and did a fundraising round. You talked to a lot of VCs. Were people trying to pull an AI story out of you? Was it Vibe round, Excel round? Like, what is the focus of Silicon Valley VCs right now? Since AI has become a tool that pretty much every company's pulling off the shelf. Just what was the vibe on the roadshow?
That's a good question. I think AI has to be front and center.
Yeah.
Any friend that's is raising and not putting their front and center, it's hard to actually get a meeting or be taken seriously. My sense is, it's starting to get maybe a little too far over the edge. I've seen some insane markups. Like we intentionally actually took like a lower markup than we could have, just because I just tend to run these things a little bit more incrementally and don't want to overextend yourself. I've been in startups where we went a little too crazy and like it's easy to kind of just, you have too much money, you spend too much. So but yeah, I think too, if you have like some good AI logos of companies you're working with, I've been seeing some like 100x 200x multiples out there. It feels a little bit
just
back
because
like
they're working with like a lab or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. If you can close a couple labs, like you're going crazy. I mean, in some cases it's worth it, right? Look at Mercor, right?
They're growing so fast, and that's their core business. That makes sense with Mercor. But yeah, if you're more of like a software tool that could be used by any company, not directly indexed revenue-wise to the lab revenue, which is growing very fast. Yeah, it's a little bit of a just like it's good. They're obviously cutting-edge businesses. They probably select the best software. So,
but it's definitely starting to get a little frothy. I'm not putting a ton of my own money into.
Do you think that AI is changing any of like the fundamental physics of like the business models? Like we covered this story with Notion. Notion said they normally have 90% gross margins. Now they have 80% gross margins, but they're growing, and so it's mathing out. I feel like as we enter like the SaaS apocalypse, where the legacy SaaS players aren't moving fast enough, and we see a new generation of companies come up, I'm wondering how much people should update on the actual like foundational, like, or is there something changing about the monopoly thesis, how companies accrue value, the margins, what the actual long-term cash flows will be? It feels very much like it's a big opportunity to build something new, get new customers on board, grow a big business, but it doesn't necessarily change the actual structure of the business. But what's your take?
Yeah, I think each business is different. So yeah, with the gross margins, even we've seen some compression because we're spending so much on running agents, and we have if you have a state portal.
So many people aren't willing to admit that. You ask them, they're like, it's actually a good thing if you're spending a lot on inference because it means you're actually you're not just saying you're.
Well, a lot of people were also on credits for a long time, and so they were doing, or the credits were really discounted, but now we're in more of a stable inference cost, $4 per million tokens if you're doing something serious.
Yeah, our AWS bill I think doubled relative to our revenue, right?
Yeah.
So it's like our gross margins have actually compressed.
Sure.
But I think our product has gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
And the hope is eventually over time, the inference costs go down, the models get more efficient. And so I think to me that's like a little neurotic to worry. So I mean, it depends who you are, but to me that's like a neurotic thing to worry about, like the short-term gross margins. Yeah. I think for me, at least for my business, where I'm excited is the services economy is like at least an order of magnitude larger than the software economy, and so a lot of what we're starting to replace now is not really. There's these legacy software providers, but again, as bigger companies, usually they don't even work directly with them. They'll hire an accounting firm to manage Avalara or Vertex or these old school solutions.
They're like this. The software is so rough, I don't even want to. Let's hire somebody to deal with that.
Like I've literally been in that position trying to buy the competitor product years ago, and being like, it's expensive, and also I don't have the manpower to do it, so we'll just continue to just like file whenever we can, and it's very rough. It's all done in a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I mean we are the official. I have the real
one.
I got the tin here. The official tax provider
of Lucy.
Of Lucy.
My D2C nicotine product.
There, you can get it right. We love Lucy.
We are powered by Numeral. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and so it's interesting, right? Yeah. So for example, we filed taxes for someone this week in Tanzania, in Kenya, and like we're the only software provider on earth that's I think ever filed taxes in Tanzania, and
let's give it
I
up for
think
Tanzania.
Let's go Tanzania.
Hit the gong for Tanzania. There we go. You can send that to the office there. We're good chatting with. What you guys are scaling quickly, and it's a category that's like not. It's an interesting one because it feels like investing in e-commerce infrastructure was at its hottest like maybe like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so do you like that it's like a bit overlooked as a category, and like where is most of the growth? Is most of the growth coming from like online retail companies or SaaS? And
great question.
What's that split?
Yeah, so we started the business fully focused on e-commerce. That's where I was coming from. I mean, I'd worked at software businesses before. I was a PM at Airbnb, but we started just in e-com, and I think that market's been really dry for people servicing the e-commerce space, like the software the software providing for that space, because the TAM is somewhat limited. E-commerce growth is something like 5% year over year.
This is a problem.
Which is
eventually, you saturate, and then you're growing at 5%, and no VCs will give you a call.
Most of the good businesses I've seen being built are either bootstrapped or more like a venture light model, which makes sense just because the TAM is going to be more capped.
More like an app in the Shopify app store. Plug and play, do something minimal, scale it, but it's not really going to become like a public company anymore.
Exactly. I think we were the first company Benchmark funded that's actually been servicing, e-commerce merchants, right? But again,
and do you think they had a sense of like Numeral, while it looks like a Shopify plugin or just like an e-commerce infrastructure tool, it's really going to be eating into the services revenue from these legacy tax prep.
I mean, it's so crazy. With Lucy, we did not rip out and replace to get on Numeral.
Yeah.
We went from nothing. And this was like a 7-8-year-old business at the time.
Yeah, and so just to benchmark, our partner Chathan, when he was early in his career, he actually did an analysis on Avalara. They were started in 2006, I think, Avalara, and so they were just going public or something. He's like, wow, this business should be amazing. You check back 10 years later, and it's just being operated really poorly. That's why they had a private equity takeover, because they weren't operating well. So I think he had seen this category and was waiting for there to be someone to go and challenge. We started fully e-commerce. Now, it's a closer split. We have a lot more SaaS and e-commerce businesses, especially with our international with our international service. We're the only player in the space that can actually go and register and file in 60+ countries. And so if
you're making some consumer AI app and you're selling to users that are in Tanzania or something.
Exactly, right. So Lucy's probably not selling a lot in Tanzania, but we have these hot AI companies that the one in Tanzania, they're like a year old, but they have $100 million of ARR. And so you have customers around the world, and your Stripe dashboard is blowing up with all these warnings, and people they get freaked out, but they don't know what to do, so they just kind of kick the can for a long time. But sometimes you can you do that and not get in trouble, but some places will just you don't want to mess with those countries, right? You don't want to mess with Mexico, the authorities there.
Yeah, it's pretty. It is a pretty new phenomenon that there were a lot of apps in the last boom of software that might be internationally distributed because of AWS and because of Google on day one, but they weren't necessarily taking money from individuals in that country on day one. It's more like there's ads that are being shown there, but the companies that are paying are in the United States, or they're doing something else and they're just like, oh, we'll monetize it later. No, these companies that are doing new AI products or something, they're putting the credit card down in that local country on day one, and then you need to actually process that, right?
This round got leaked by Arthur Rock, right?
Oh,
yes, they did.
What was that?
Who do you think Arthur Rock is?
What was the impact? What was the impact from that?
Did that help?
Was it helpful at all?
Hard to know.
Actually closed when it
the round had already closed by then, so it didn't really matter. But it was a little bit low on our revenue. Mm-hmm. So I did retweet.
Oh yeah, you were annoyed because they clocked the revenue.
They clocked the revenue, not like crazy amount low, but definitely 7 figures low. And so
give me some credit.
Yeah, I was like, come on. We have the most ARR of all the sales tax startups in the space, and the most customers, the most money raised, and so you always want to be a little bit cocky there because it's hard to know.
Yeah, what do you projecting out a few years? What do you think happens to the category? Can the category support a number of players? Do you think some of these venture-backed competitors will just end up being a decent little business?
Good question.
Do you think? There's a bunch of massive, tax prep, big consulting businesses. So maybe it can support multiple billion-dollar players.
So when you look in the public markets, right, you have companies like Avalara, who is taking, they're going to go public again next year. People are saying like 1.2 billion of revenue. Thomson Reuters has a subdivision doing like indirect tax, called OneSource. Secretly $1 billion of revenue, supposedly. And like nobody, it's like this thing nobody's looked at. It's like a plug into SAP and Oracle, and so the tool looks insane, like it's built in the 1970s. But if you're IBM, like or whoever, you might be using it. And there's another one, Vertex Inc., founded in the 1970s, another public company, sales tax software. But companies like DoorDash still rely on Vertex, and they rack physical servers in San Francisco.
No way.
And to get the right tax rate, I think they update it with like a CD-ROM. The rates get updated.
So how much time are you spending like basically doing these like much bigger high level partnership stuff where you're going to these sort of scaled software companies and saying like, look, the way you're doing this is insane. It's going to take time to switch over, but like there's a better way. Is that where you're spending a lot of time?
Yeah. So, we started more in like the kind of SMB e-commerce space. And so that's where a lot of our early traction's been. Now we're starting to have conversations and starting to sign customers with hundreds of millions of revenue, work with a customer of you guys, 8 Sleep, right?
Yeah, nice.
So
there you go.
that's another unicorn. And so we're starting to work with bigger and bigger businesses, still really focused though on software, kind of startups and direct to consumer businesses. We haven't gone and started talking with legacy businesses a lot. That's, working with accounting firms and things like the big four that just takes a long time. And we've obviously had some of those conversations, but it's just not our focus.
What's the ladder for signing bigger and bigger customers? Do you have a rule of thumb, like never jump more than one order of magnitude? Like if you have a company that's doing 100 million in sales, you feel like, we could probably do a company with 800 million in sales. But if a company with 8 billion showed up tomorrow, that's going to be after we sign the $800 million contract? What do you think?
Yeah, good question. I think, order of magnitude seems high. You try to go a little bit conservatively, right? Okay. Because we are running their tax engine, and you want to make sure that doesn't go down and lots of money on the line. So we try to have it, like 4x roughly.
4x, double, 4x, or you ladder up.
Or you scale up with folks.
Sure.
We've never had like an issue with outages and stuff. I think, in 2025, it's not that hard to scale your servers and these type of things. But we do a lot of hype marketing, but we're still kind of we're very conservative with the way we run our product, just because it is a compliance product, and so we'll make a lot of noise. But when it actually comes down to the details, you got to be pretty uptight.
Is it tricky to use AI in a compliance context? Like what kind of guardrails do you have to put on the LLMs that are doing work? I can imagine a bunch of places where it's fine to have non-deterministic, just data ingest or something where there's a human in the loop. But where have you shied away from putting it in place?
Yeah, where we think about it is like there's still usually a human that does the last mile.
Sure.
So to give you a couple examples, like one is when we read for clients, you get physical mail from every state and country, and you'll get like a stack every month, and it's like exhausting to have to read through all this physical mail. So we get it, we scan it, and we have AI take a first pass reading it.
Sure.
And most of the mail, the AI, it's like this is
if you can take physical mail that was going to somebody, like the amount that I actually should find a personal service. Like I never want to get mail like at my house, like ever.
I used a service years ago where you send all your mail there, they scan it, and then you get like an email inbox basically. Obviously that's way better now with modern AI, and I can imagine that'd be part of the workflow.
Well, it's like you get a letter from California or somewhere, and it's like, sometimes you get jolt of stress,
cortisol,
right? Cortisol, that's the word I was looking for. You read my mind, yeah. So you get a little cortisol from the IRS or whoever it is, but half the time it's like, we got one last week for a client who's, breast pumps in California are tax exempt for the next 3 months. And like Lucy probably got this letter. And so you got the stress for nothing. But then sometimes it is maybe a letter, hey, there's a lien on your business. There's a big issue here. And so anything that like requires human intervention, we have like a mail team of 6 people that literally will go, they open up they'll read the letters.
Physical.
And they'll go and like actually handle the last mile compliance.
Yeah.
Similarly on the tax research side, how do you know that Juno, I'm making this up, Juneau, Alaska has a 4-cent soda can tax law. Often it gets passed in some city council notes. And so the way these legacy providers do it is they have hundreds of lawyers and researchers just reading this stuff by hand. And like we have a couple of lawyers on staff. We asked them like, how would you figure out the taxability of, I think it was like bagels in California. And he's like going on the California website, Control F, bread, bagel, like it didn't work. Okay, baked goods finally worked. And so this is like such an obvious thing where AI is able to go and do that first pass of like, we put in bagel as a category. Okay, it finds all the baked goods. It makes a best first guess. But any single piece of tax research, it's not even that we have like one human lawyer look after. We actually have to have 2 legal opinions on any single fact. But it really makes them like 100x lawyers. So all the busy work they were wasting their time doing, they don't have to spend time. And then the things that are really complex that requires going through, huge adjudications and things like this, they can really use their legal minds for.
Are you rating scrapers yet to scrape every local law that's passed and then at least pipeline that in to say, hey, maybe we still need a lawyer to look at this, but like we noticed that something changed?
Exactly. That's 100% what we're doing, right?
Cool,
so we have a lot of like this. We have a tax research group, and that's like where a lot of the fun work is getting done.
This is the real AI research that we need.
This is important.
How are you thinking of scaling headcount? This feels like a business where obviously you probably will grow the team quite a bit post B, but it feels like the kind of business that you should be like, not like running in the red for 12 years in a row. Like you can probably start to make like real profit.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, so I mean, even like our raise, where I kept 10% dilution, we could have raised like a bigger, louder round, but I think for us, I've seen excess before and like excess hiring. So, we don't have, so we started the year 25 folks, we're up to 65.
That's great.
But, but even that, like everyone, it always feels like tight, there's no office manager, nothing like that. I was plunging the toys yesterday. We'll post some footage someone got of me. So I think, so there we go. So I think the point is though, I think we always try to run these things as lean as possible. I think still the hardest area to scale exponentially, or like that tends to scale more linearly, is your go-to-market sales team. It's just we have some self-service stuff we're building out, but I just think in general, AI has not replaced salespeople. It's still a very human endeavor, and so that's probably and obviously
still AI can eat steak, play a round of golf.
Not yet.
It's gonna stay that way.
We're getting there. But no.
You should cap off the show with us. Let's check the timeline and see if there's any breaking news before the weekend. Usually these companies wait until the second they see we go off the air.
Yeah.
And then they
the big news that we haven't covered yet is NVIDIA did one of those zombie acquisitions. They bought this company in Fabrica, and they paid $900 million. They hired the CEO, and they licensed the startup's technology. The CEO is Roshan Sankar, the guy behind Broadcom's AVGO Tomahawk switches. So NVIDIA is now getting into like the acqui-hire game.
Some clear chat.
Yes.
NVIDIA isn't just buying talent; they're locking down the AI data centers, networking backbone.
Well, congrats, Dylan Patel is an early investor.
Somebody should make an AI text blocker for your browser so that it detects like ChatGPT generated.
It does feel like it's pretty detectable at this point, but for some reason, it's not. What else is going on in here? JP Morgan put out a report on NVIDIA's investment in Intel. NVIDIA put $5 billion in, marked up the U.S. taxpayer, marked up Leopold Aschenbrenner. Let's hear it. Let's hear it for Leopold and the U.S. taxpayer. Fantastic. But JP Morgan's analysis said more value is seen accruing to NVIDIA in the Intel collaboration. There's still no commitment to Intel Foundry. So Intel's still going around trying to get enough of those customers to justify their next big fab. NVIDIA is going to benefit a bunch from this. So even though it's just interesting because there was one framing of this story, which was like NVIDIA is making this investment as like an olive branch. They just have $60 billion sitting around. They're going to throw $5 billion into Intel, maybe just because they think the stock will go up, or maybe that they'll like basically give $5 billion away as an olive branch to support this American chip manufacturer, and then they'll trade something and they'll be able to sell into China or something like that. Well, no, JP Morgan's here saying that NVIDIA is actually going to get a lot of value out of this deal, which is kind of
or they just day after the announcement, they just nuke the chart and market sell 5 billion. We got a post here from Nat Eliason, who I saw in the chat earlier. I don't know if he's still here. It says the reason you can so easily pull all-nighters in college is because you're supposed to be having kids at that age. 25,000 likes. That is a true gigabanger.
Gigabanger.
You don't see that very often.
Tyler, do you think that DeepMind solved Navier-Stokes? Do you see this post from Google DeepMind? We're announcing a major advance in the study of fluid dynamics with AI, and then they put the water emoji in a joint paper with researchers from Brown University, NYU, and Stanford. They're announcing an announcement. They haven't actually announced this. What do you think? Are you familiar with this problem? Can you explain the significance of Navier-Stokes? Because Sam here says, don't tell me they figured out Navier-Stokes.
I don't know that I can do a really good explanation, but I did see in the comments, it's like, I'm pretty, 90% sure it's not. It's just like some random math problem that's not that interesting. So.
Well, still, let's hear it for random math problems. We want to solve all the math problems. Come on, let's do it. We also have some news in the chat. Netflix is trying to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. We thought Ellison was bidding, and Netflix might be trying to bid. This is from Puck News. Thank you to Ragav for sharing that news. Hopefully, you guys don't figure out that we'll read basically anything you put in the chat, because you could put some crazy fake news in there if you wanted to. We talked about a bunch of stuff.
Paramount's up another almost 6% today, 40% over the last month.
Well,
so
we have one last ad read. GetBezel.com. Your Bezel concierge is available now to source you any watch on the planet. Seriously, any watch. You got a Series B, you got to pick something up at Get Bezel.
Yeah, you deserve a little treat.
And we'll close with this question. How long is this guy messaged me to, quote, hop on a quick call. How long are those supposed to typically last? Somebody asks you for a quick call. How long do you think that lasts? What's fair?
I mean, it's supposed to be 15, but it always ends up being 30.
15 to 30.
Okay, well, ChatGPT says a quick call can last anywhere from 5 minutes to 2 to 4 months. Some quick calls have even been going on since the early 1900s, with ancestors continuing the conversation to loop in key stakeholders and ensure cross-generational synergies for the warm handoff. But this would be a lot easier to explain over voice mode. Do you have 5 minutes to hop on a call? This is clearly Photoshop, but absolutely hilarious.
Hilarious. I wasn't familiar. He has access to. Is the ChatGPT 5 Instant a real feature? I don't have that. Mine just says ChatGPT 5 usually when I go to ChatGPT.
Auto,
but
who's getting access to Instant?
This seems like some new feature. I don't know if it's all Photoshop, but it's clearly a very clever Photoshop.
You guys should hop on a quick call with The Weeknd.
With The Weeknd.
Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for joining, Sam. It's been an honor to have you, and the progress is tremendous. And everybody in the chat, everybody listening, have a fantastic weekend.
Thank
you
for tuning in.